Hey, I'm Duke on Twitch. If you want to support the channel and greensunzenith.com, you can find my Patreon, merch store, and singles store where you can buy singles through TCG Player or Card Hoarder in the video description. If you want to get in contact, you can also find all that info in the description below for things like donation deck lists or just wanting to reach out. Alright, let's get right into it. Hey team, welcome back to Dukes on Twitch. Back today with a special guest and a special deck. This is Nightmare on Elf Street, and we are joined by the Sylvan Syndicate co-host himself, HelloNewton. Hey Newton, how's things going?
Hey Dukes, thanks for having me on. I am very excited to join you and talk. I kind of tweeted this out earlier, but talk all things green. And actually, before we get started, I want to just shout out to my very good friend Romario for actually finishing second in the Buffalo Chicken Dip event earlier today. So this is just like right on cue that we're streaming right after his great run.
That's very cool. I think I saw you say it was like the seventh win out of seven since Lord of the Rings for this deck.
Yeah, so I know the way I tweeted was a little convoluted, but essentially this was the seventh weekend that Lord of the Rings cards has been legal, and essentially we've had a major top eight all 7 weekends, given that we converted today already. And of those 7 weekends, we had two big wins, including the NRG Chicago win as well. So I think the deck has just I think it was already good prior to Lord of the Rings, and then I think given that there's increased visibility, increased number of pilots on the deck, it's just starting to really get some attention now. And also I think the addition of Mode Masters, whether you're playing 2 or 3 copies, it's still a nice upgrade as well.
Yeah, it's a very cool deck. I was gonna say I was talking to you before this, and I feel like elves being on Maverick and playing kind of the game of Maverick for a while, seeing
Mhm.
elves is kind of like finding out the cheat codes for the game of Maverick because having the like I win buttons of natural order and having cards like Craterhoof and Atraxa, it just seems like a really nice way to close out games and yeah, not be so reactive to what your opponent's doing, which you kind of have to do with Maverick. I really like that idea. Um, is there a difference in deck building between Nightmare on Elf Street, Cradle Control, or are those just different names that people use for the same deck?
Those are just different names. So the funny thing was, I kind of wanted to tweet this out, but then I feel like it's just gonna get all over the place. But there's multiple names that people like, and they're essentially referring to the same deck, right? The If you want to call it mid-range version, or non-combo version of elves, it still has the combo kill in natural order, but there's no more glimpse of nature. But essentially, whether it be Cradle Control, Nightmare on Elf Street, which is I think a lot of people's favorite. The only problem with that name is it's a little bit long, so if you want to type it, it's not the cleanest. I like Rock the Cradle only because it's kind of fitting as well. Like it's sort of a rock deck. It's a cradle deck, and then it's kind of fitting because my wife and I just had a baby, so there's that aspect to it. Um, some people I have jokingly nicknamed the deck Elf because I have removed all the elves from the deck now.
Yeah, other than Reclaimer, which is hilarious.
Yeah, and there's technically two Allosaurus Shepherd, but that's like low key one of the weakest cards in the deck. And it's just there because we need more 1 drops.
Yeah, that's actually funny because I feel like it wasn't long ago where people were calling Shepherd like a pretty broken card in Elves.
So the funny thing about that is like I've always said from the start, I felt like Shepard was kind of an overrated card. It's just that a lot of blue players are just not used to playing against it. And I personally think like it's almost like the fire version of Heritage Druid where a lot of people are scared of the card, but it's like not really that impressive unless you're actually winning. If that makes sense. So like before Heritage Druid would like, especially everybody knows like PT Berlin where like it puts 6 copies into the top 8, right? But if you're not comboing off, the card doesn't really do anything. And Allosaur Shepherd is kind of the same thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I definitely get that. I kind of feel like that's like an inside take of Elves where like you don't want too many people to figure it out because then it obviously changes everything. But
Yeah, like sometimes I just run it out and then like just hope they kill it, right? And it really I don't really care for it if that makes sense. People have gone better about it, especially since uh it's kind of I think it's kind of known now that the card is not too great, especially in this shell. But you'll see blue mages sometimes panic too because of it.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on Orcish Bowmaster, both for the deck and against this sort of deck?
Okay, I guess most people will be interested for the deck first. I think the optimal number, depending on your metagame, is anywhere from 2 to 3. The reason why I don't like 4 is because you're gonna run into something like lands or moon stompy, and it's just gonna be awful. And without brainstorm to put it back, like as a general rule of thumb, that it's kind of why I only run 3 natural order. It's only why I run 3 once upon a time. I don't really want to draw these cards when they're bad, right? Unlike the dorks and the reclaimers and the phenars, which are pretty much always good. There are some matches where Bowmaster is just a Mog War Marshal, and I don't really want to draw multiple. Uh, so that's kind of the logic between why I only run 2. Um, I don't run 1 because I think I like the second one just for value. Like sometimes I just want to kill something and make 2, like especially in a Fiend Artisan and a Cradle deck, especially like I think the reason why I also like the names that involve Cradle more is because this is secretly just a Cradle deck, and then all the other stuff are just payoffs, right? Like it's as if you called Cloud Post Primeval Time the deck. It's the land that's broken, not so much the payoffs.
That's a great way to
Against the
put it.
deck, I think Bowmasters is not great personally. I think it's like worth keeping in, but like as you noticed, I took all the draw cards out of the deck, so really the static ability has no text against us aside from making a 2/2 every once in a while, like to potentially attack. But it's a 2 mana Dark Blast. Is kind of how I see it, and I know a lot of people think, oh, how can you play X ones in this format? Well, if they're just killing your mana dorks, I don't think it's a big problem, right? Like all of the relevant cards have more than one tough. Well, Fiend Artisan has an asterisk, right? Like, I'm gonna try to not play Fiend Artisan when they have 2 mana up, uh, and I don't have any creatures in the graveyard. But like that aside, it's just killing a Dryad Arbor or a Hierarch, or a Shepherd, which is the secretly, or not so secretly, the worst card in the deck.
Yeah, it's a great take. One thing that you mentioned was Fiend Artisan and Brainstorm, which I kind of feel has a similar role in that
Mhm,
I really like it in Maverick because, say, you draw Collector Oof in game one against Elves. Fiend
mhm,
Artisan is kind of your Brainstorm, where you get to put it back or kill it and find something
mhm.
more relevant. So I think there's also that really nice ability to just get extra tokens on the board for things like Fiend and things like Cradle.
Right, right, right. That's precisely why I played more than just the one copy, right? There's an argument to be made. It just replaced Plague Engineer, but I like the second one just for value, if that makes sense.
Yeah, perfect. With the natural order uh, package, I think one card that historically people think about is Progenitors, but we don't see it in this list. Is that a card that's kind of just faded out, or is it like a metagame choice?
Um, I think in majority of the situations, attraction is gonna be better because um, I think I can count on like one hand how many times I've lost when Atraxa actually hit play. Maybe it's a little bit more now because I just lost the other day because I messed up. But I think it's like 6 times or so where I've actually lost with Atraxa, and like 4 of them were because I misplayed. So it's to me, it's really hard to lose when Atraxa hits the board, assuming you built the deck and played correctly. Now that's not a given. There are certain matches where Progenitus is better, but those matchups or those scenarios are so rare, I guess, it's not worth it. Because Atraxa is better almost all the time. The exceptions are, I think, lands is probably one where Progenitus is better. That's probably like the one matchup. But aside from that, I think Atraxa is almost always better. And the reason being is because the flying lifelink is just a huge thing against Delver and against like Moon Stompy.
Yeah, nice. That's very cool to see. Uh, with poorer matchups. Obviously, the deck's done very well recently in big tournaments. I know that Depths
Mhm.
is one of them, and Caracas is typically a nice out to Depths, but I would assume that maybe it's not in the deck because it's either just not enough. It might have obviously some implications with the actual mana base as well, and it's kind of a case of just trying to fade that matchup.
So good question, Dukes. Um, you are right. One of the weak matchups for, and ironically enough, I guess right on cue, Romario was lost in the finals was actually to Green White Depths. Granted, he did mold a 5 game too. I just saw part of the replay right now. But Merit Lage is one of the problems for this deck, and my experience with Caracas is I don't like it for two reasons. One, it's not exactly great outside of the depths matchup, because I don't really like it against Uro because we already have Bog and Endurance and Reclaimer. So I just feel like it's kind of redundant there. Not to mention I don't want to get into this game where like they're still getting value just because they're drawing cards off the Uro. So that's number one. I think it's kind of a narrow card. Number two, most of the other decks that play Caracas are crop rotation decks, and even though we have crop rotation on legs with Reclaimer, I think tutoring for it is a little bit slow, and it doesn't really solve the problem for this deck. In the sense that you lose to the really fast Merit Lage. Now, the new discovery recently was the two pitting needles that you can actually find via Saga or just draw naturally, right? I've been getting this question a lot lately. Why am I playing two? It's because I want to open with a card. I don't want to tutor it via Saga, because it's too slow against some of the fast Merit Lage hands. Um, but with that said, one weakness of pitting needle is, uh, and it's only because I paired into this, just earlier today. I It also dies to Blast Zone, which is a little bit awkward, and maybe I need to adjust and figure that out because there are some lists that play Blast Zone, and that's a little bit awkward to have your out be hit by that as well.
Yeah, that's very true. Blast Zone, pretty nice if you do want some sort of sweeper in the deck because otherwise you don't have too many in depths. But one thing I was going to note with how you were saying it's a little bit slow off Reclaimer is similar to
Mhm.
how I kind of see Bog in Maverick decks with only Knight of the Reliquary because at
Yes.
best on the play you have a turn 1 Mana Dog, turn 2 Knight, turn 3 you have Bog at instant speed. But typically by
Mhm.
then a lot of the graveyard decks in the format right now have gone off or killed you. But I
Yeah, I would
definitely,
say the average speed of the graveyard decks is turn two in Legacy, right? Like it's either
yeah,
turn one into turn two Extreme, right? Or turn one uh the creature from Cephalid Breakfast, the nomads
Nomads.
into the Cephalid. So it's like a turn two format for graveyard decks. So I don't think, yeah, it's great in the Night of the Reliquary shells, which is why I've cut it. I think it's great in the Reclaimer shells because the play patterns are better, right? Like turn one Seas, turn two Reclaimer.
Yes. Yes. 100%. Any other things you would like to drop before we get into a league?
Um, did you have any specific question? I know that was a great question, by the way. I get asked that a lot, and there's a misconception out there that at least historically elves has struggled with combo. Those might have been your father's pun unintended elves because this deck plays nothing like the old school, glimpse of nature elves. This is very much so I've been asked a lot, like, how would you describe this deck, right? And I think the best answer I can give is it's like a rock slash prison deck that plays out like a tempo deck, but it's built like a combo deck, if that makes sense. And the reason why I say that is because like you really want to just get like your lock piece into play, whether that be like Collected Oof or like something that runs away the game, like a Gris, and then like the snuff outs. Like the reason why I call it a tempo deck too is because if you look at the sideboard, you see 6 1 mana spells and 9 free spells. Like this is just more or less like Cradle powered by the most broken green and black cards of all time, all the Hall of Fame green black cards ever, and then it's just a bunch of free spells, right? Like that's what this deck boils down to. And um, I think that's why this shell is like the best for Fiend Artisan that I've seen because it can get ahead on tempo and make your opponent play defense.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's a little bit like depth in that it could just be a mid-range deck with a combo finish, or you could just go for the combo and try to combo off faster than your opponents. But
Mhm,
I do find, similar to Maverick, at least in my sideboards, I really love free or 1 mana interaction because I think it's
mhm.
very hard to have additional 2 or 3 CMC permanents against combo. Because you kind of need that, like, you need the free and the 1-drop spells to buy you time to actually get things like Collective into play.
Right. Which is why, like I said, the sideboard here is just there's nothing that costs more than 1 mana. Everything is 0 or 1, right?
Yeah, which is nice. Fairy Macabre obviously can be found with Once Upon a Time, which is really nice as
Mhm,
well to be able to dig for it against combo. Uh,
mhm.
Snuffouts, still a lot of targets, even though there's a lot of Orcish Bowmasters running around. Um, I think it's pretty
So
fantastic.
so the funny thing about that is I'm glad I'm glad you brought that up. Um, if I were trying to, be a salesman and pitch people on this deck, how would I do so? Obviously, you get to play, I'm biased, but I think this deck gets to play the most broken card in Legacy, which is Guy's Cradle, and a million ways to find it via Once Upon a Time, Reclaimer, or Green Sun for Reclaimer. So that's number one. But number two, I think this deck is uniquely positioned in that, as far as I know, and this is, you know, not the case, only a few weeks ago, but as far as I know, I think this is the only deck that can afford to play Snuff Out now because we don't care about Orcish Bowmasters because the deck is built so that the Bowmasters actually kind of, I wouldn't say bad, but mediocre at best. Right? It's
Yeah,
a 2 mana removal spell that doesn't even hit the relevant cards.
yeah, exactly. Uh, and just the ability to like double spell on turn 1 if you're facing, say, another Matador on the opposing side or something like a Delver or a DRC. It's just so nice
Mhm.
for the deck as well. Not have to take time off to actually cast removal.
Right. I think the only problematic creature, and there's ways to beat it, and the 2 Grist are nice for it, is like I think the only really problematic creature, and only certain so many decks can play it,
Can
is
we say it at
Opposition
this?
Agent.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I was gonna say. Can we say it at the same
That is the
time?
one problematic, huh?
Yeah, I was gonna say. Can we say it at the same time? And I was gonna say opposition agent.
You read my mind, Dukes.
Nice. Let's get into a league and see how
Yeah.
this performs. Uh, I would say it's
Um.
quite a good
Okay.
deck for Maverick players to pick up and try, um, because
I think that's probably pretty accurate, Dukes, because I've had new players tell me, "Oh, this deck's a lot of fun, but I'm making a lot of mistakes." Fortunately, I drew natural order, so it didn't matter.
yes. uh, wait a second. Ah, it's in free form. Apologies. That's why.
No worries.
There we go. Constructed. Nightmare. Play points. Gameplay. Nice. How long would you say on average this deck takes to do a league? Would you say it's a good deck to like grind with, or is it a bit grindy itself?
I think unless you've had the reps with the leagues can be quite long.
Hmm.
Is my observation from newer pilots. Like I've had newer pilots say, "Man, I can't grind league with this. It just takes forever."
Yeah. Would you say once you get a few reps of the deck, you have it in the back of your mind when you want to play the mid game against some decks and when you just want to combo hard?
I think so. Another question I get asked a lot is like, what is the most similar deck to this in Legacy? And while the decks are not very similar in terms of like the card choices, I think in the way that the strategy plays out from a macro standpoint, I think like Esperval comes to mind because the big picture game plan is you just try to create these board states where your opponent can no longer win.
Okay, nice. I like that a
And
lot.
then if you're obviously as very the old Go Gary King himself, Matt's here is if you're as good as he is, obviously the leagues can go fast. But I'm assuming not everybody is a Mats.
Yes, that's true. I'll also share my screen with you in Discord so you can see it live.
Okay, sure.
Um, I would say this is a keep. We have obviously Reclaimer to start off with 2 lands. We have a once to find hopefully another creature. Probably don't want another land at this point, but
Yeah, this is great. Obviously, the second once is a bummer here, but as a general rule of thumb, I keep anything that I would keep on 6, and I would definitely keep this on 6.
nice. Um, like Orc would be kind of cool here because it is removal off once. I mean, Fiend Artisan isn't bad either.
Hmm. I think for me, I typically will fetch first before once, just for thinning. Just I always try to get those extra percentages, but is in the grand scheme of things, I don't think it matters too much. But just a heuristic, I try to drill in for new players on the deck.
Yeah. So we have a few options. We can Reclaimer, we can Accelerate. Obviously, if we just keep drawing lands, the Green Sun's scales, which is nice as well.
As a general rule of thumb, we always, if you're unsure, you always ramp, and that's why I play actually a lot of mana dorks because I think that's just really important in this deck.
Nice. I was gonna say
Also,
if we
as a
get,
go ahead.
I was gonna say we get Bayou because if we really need to get another dried up off the Misty, then we still have a swamp to get Snuff out online.
Yeah, I would say unless you're facing something like Moonstompy or lands, I would lead with Bayou most of the time.
Nice.
It used to be that the deck would always get basic fours, but the play patterns have changed due to Snuff Out and then more recently Bowmasters as well.
Yeah, being on the play with dried up is a lot better than being on the draw because you get to get some sort of use of it before anything occurs.
Mm-mm.
Huh.
Yeah, you will get that from time to time where opponent tries to cheese us, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Again, so many options. Like I think the worst is probably Hold Up Once Upon a Time. The best is probably Fiend, but it's close between Double Spell and Fiend.
So a general heuristic is if you are given the opportunity, almost always double spell.
Cool. Reclaim is already online as well.
And obviously you can lead with a shepherd here, so it's in case they're playing permission, right?
Nice. See, it's funny because this to me just seems broken. As someone who hasn't really played with it, the ability to cast my green spells without them being countered is just like mind blown.
It's also why I play two shepherd, even though it's kind of like low key kind of bad in this deck, is because it's kind of hard for your opponent to play around. Oh my god.
I
Opponents are really
wonder if they are a Tabernacle deck, which isn't too bad because we do
okay.
have Go for
Oh, go
Cradle,
ahead.
but
So here, yeah. What would you do?
I would probably just attack with a Shepherd and hold up Reclaimer.
Yeah, that's and yeah, I think eh, you know the the original name for this deck actually. Shout out to Jax is Oops All Cradles. So as a actually, you want to fetch by the way right here.
Oh, cool.
The reason being is that they have removal. You don't want them to respond to the fetch and then like plow your reclaimer or something like that as a heuristic.
Correct, yeah. Yeah, Double Wasteland is really aggressive when we are building out the board, which to me thinks like they're trying to get us with something like Tabernacle, but obviously Delta means that's just not the case.
It feels like they're trying to just cheese a win. It's the vibe I get.
Hmm. Fatal Push. Well, that's a pretty
Well, that's a
easy.
mistake.
Yeah. I guess now we're just turning this into a cradle, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think our opponent just just tunnel vision is that line to for lack of a better word.
So Double Wasteland, Pluto Delta, Fatal Push. I would put them on Death Shadow.
I think that's probably accurate. Yeah.
Uh, and again here, probably just Ignoble Hierarch, attack for 4, and then play out Fiend Artisan.
Um, as a general, well, okay. So there's a debate, right? Like whether if they're on shadow, whether to do the life loss for them or not.
Hmm.
I usually play a little bit more conservatively, but I that's not doesn't mean that's necessarily right. So I would like your take on that, by the way. But as far as sequencing goes, I'd probably just go Reclaimer into Fiend Artisan. sorry, hierarchy to Fiend Artisan.
Nice. Yeah, because I think probably the best card we can get online right now is Grist to make sure if they get down a big creature,
Actually,
especially
once
that.
is a decent. You want to hit land maybe almost all at once actually.
Yes, nice. We do still have one fetchable source that comes in. Oh, Saga's pretty nice, but we can't cast the Fiend off it.
I would just play the. We have another basic force, so
Forest.
I'd probably just fetch that out and play the Artisan.
Yeah. I think in a way, Fiend Artisan is our current Saga.
Speaking of Saga, that's actually the card I get the most questions about. I'm a little bit reluctant to I tend to be a little bit reluctant to recommend Saga to somebody who's new playing the deck because I've almost myself included, everybody who's picked the deck up and Saga for the first time, they almost always misplay with the card. And the reason being is because they tend to go for it too aggressively when they need to plan future turns, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Um, yes. Shout out to Mark and Harry who have been testing out Saga in Maverick and doing really well with it.
So here it went 3 wasteland. I think we're pretty ahead for what it's worth. Um, and almost feels like they have the shadow in hand. Maybe we don't want to attack. Uh, I kind of almost want to say, uh, well, they don't. They probably don't have him, but I think we just want to get another wasteland. To be, I mean, another cradle to be honest, and just like not even attack.
Yeah. Is there any thought of using the Green Suns for Dried Arbor, or would you want to just hold this for something else?
I think on this board state, I'd probably just hold
Yep.
and not even attack and give them a chance to play the shadow.
Cool. Yeah, because even Cradle into Green Suns for Grist is pretty nice as well.
If you can get Grist or Fiend Artisan, typically, well, Fiend Artisan is less reliable now that they're playing Fatal Push. But typically speaking, I think Grist is like a game over for the most part. Probably just gonna let that resolve.
They have played a land for turn. Nice.
It's not their end step, by the way. As far as I can
No,
tell.
but they are tapped out.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so that's free. Then we have 3 mana.
So the nice thing about Cradle Math is all the 1-drops are free.
Yes. Yeah.
This is something that takes getting used to, by the way.
Mhm.
You could probably just play the Fiend here.
Yeah, they've already used 3 Wastelands, so I assume they only have 1 left. They are playing the full
Yeah.
playset.
I think we're still significantly ahead.
Yeah, like 4, 5, 6 mana currently. Getting pretty close to just being able to Green Suns for Hoof if we draw another Cradle. Or even a once, does it? 4 into 8 or 1 left? Yeah.
This matchup actually is the matchup that changed the most as a result of Lord of the Rings because it used to be in this matchup that opponent has snuff outs and then they don't anymore. But because of so it's good and bad because they used to be able to hit our mana doors for free, but now their removal can hit Fiend Artisan, whereas before you stick a Fiend Artisan, it's probably just game over. Now it's a little bit dicier because they have Fatal Push and Dismember.
Yes. I assume here we see a troll. Oh, Dismember. Is there a way to grow this? There is not. That is fine.
I think that's fine. I think here we just slam Bagris and it's probably over.
Bog's pretty nice, especially after they trolled.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Do we have any arbors left? 1 second.
we have
And
1 Arbor, I believe. Yes.
so, actually, I think I like. I was gonna say you have the option of reclaimer for arbor and then grow the guy's cradle, but then I think you want the Reclaimer to play defense as well. So I think that's fine. And then you can bog them after.
Perfect.
And just protect the Grist now, right? Just protect the Queen.
Yeah, I assume here we're just going to uptick with the Grist.
Yeah, I don't think we care about like Bowmasters.
Bulk turning off Murktide and also returning the Troll is really nice as well.
Yeah, I think it's our game to lose from here. I think it's the game should be pretty wrapped up.
Yeah, one subtle thing to note was that they brainstormed, but then didn't have a fetch land, but they did have the Troll to cycle,
Mm-hmm.
which is like another way to get out of a brainstorm lock, which is kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
See if this is a watery grave. No, it's not. I guess in this case, because the Grist is online to take out a Death Shadow, they don't want to go too low.
Yeah, because at some point we can just ultimate the Grist too, right? Like it no longer becomes flavor text.
Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty pushed Brainstorm there as well. Brainstorm, fetch, and then Brainstorm again without a shuffle. Well, that's free. Does Lair of the Hydra have trample?
It does not.
Okay, it
So I
should.
think here we can just like sit back and just like and get Saga
Yeah, I love
and
that
further
plan.
grind our opponent down.
Nice. And yeah, just to note as well, we haven't milled Saga or a natural order target, which is nice.
Also, if they get low enough, you can just like tick Grist -5 too, right? So here they probably just target the Hierarch. Oh, you can pump.
That's my bad. That's on me. Apologies.
Oh, good. Yeah, your opponent missed it too. So, but yeah, you could just pump there, and then you still have 2 mana to keep Reclaimer up.
6. Currently 6 creatures in the bin. So actually, if they attack with more than one creature, we can block with the 2 Hierarchs, and that's 8, which puts Grist at lethal.
Wait, say that again.
If they attack with more than one creature or just the Orc, we can put both the Hierarchs in front, which puts 8 creatures in total into the bin, which would then be lethal with Grist. Does Grist count itself?
Yes.
Okay. Murktide's fine.
How many creatures on the yard? I can't tell there.
There are currently 1,
It should say
2,
actually it says
3.
6 on the Grist.
Oh, nice. There we go. Yeah.
So you
Cool.
can end step just get like Saga or something. But
So Lair is okay. Cool.
but yeah, you might want to keep in mind the pump in the future from the Shepherd.
Yes. Yeah. Correct.
It's okay. A lot of people miss it, especially since it's not an elf centric deck. I still think we're pretty ahead for what it's worth.
Yeah. Actually, Matt's had a good line where we actually get Dried Arbor there, and then this turn we sack the Dried Arbor to put 7 creatures plus Grist being the 8th into the bin.
Right. Yeah, we could have done that. I wasn't paying attention to him. Yeah, so that would have been 8 exactly. I think here we are now forced to tick down the Murktide. I think just play the Reclaimer. At some point, I think we just start dashing. To be honest, too. Like we have the Hierarchs, right? That's why they're in the deck.
5, 6, 7. Yeah. So if we attack with a Hierarch and they actually block it to kill it, we then just have lethal with the Grist.
Well, I mean, like we can just attack with the insect token, right? And just get the actually attack with the Reclaimer, right? And well, we can tick down too, like to clear the Murktide.
Yeah.
But I think you want to keep the Hierarch because of the exalted trigger, right?
Mm.
So I think I would just play the I would just like play the reclaimer and then tick down the um the Grizz. Technically, we could just done it post board. I mean, second
Yeah.
main phase too. It's just like, oh,
I was going to attack first, see how they block, and then potentially use the grist after.
oh, I see. Because you're saying the reclaimer is a 5/6.
Correct.
Sure.
And then if
I
they
think the
do want to double block and kill it, then we just sack grist, have 8 creatures in the bin, and
mhm.
deal lethal. Because I assume if they put the Murktide in front, oh, they don't.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, we could have, as Matt said, just done second main phase too.
Mm.
There was no rush. But we're pretty ahead here. We just gotta, clean up and then not spend too much time on our clock is the only thing.
Yeah, honestly, we could even just grist them, put them to 1, and then we have pretty much lethal on the swing back. But I think just getting rid of a token for the Murktide here is fine.
Yeah, I think just get a token. Like we're getting to an area where we just like attack all as well pretty soon.
Yeah, especially when it comes to clock.
The only concern right now is our clock. I think
Yeah.
we got probably play a little bit faster. This is also why I think for anybody who's trying to pick up the deck, the leagues can be hard to because there's so many decisions to make. Like timing out, I think for anybody who's not familiar with the deck, is a real possibility.
Mm.
It happened to actually somebody my buddy Jonathan who went actually 40-20 with the deck, and he lost one game with lethal on the stack.
They're gonna reanimate our own. That is fine. Nice. We get a dude. We don't have a main deck target, do we? So we just get 2 constructs out of this.
Yeah, I mean technically speaking, if we really want to squeeze the value, we can just like sack with the trigger, but I don't even think it's necessary to be honest. The saga is more so for the sideboard needle than the actual tokens, but the tokens are decent enough so that I don't play the saga in the sideboard.
I think here I'm just going to use the grist to get rid of the Death Shadow with the endurance we have.
Mm-hmm.
And then swing with 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just going to 6 here as well because there's nothing we can do just from a time perspective.
But yeah, there's a lot of decisions going on. It's all clicking really. Yeah, as Decent mentioned, Exalted is like really messed up in this deck because traditionally people will stop us from trying to go wide because of Cradle and just that Elves traditionally has just gone really wide. So Hierarchs allowing us to go tall is like really good for beating hate.
Yeah, I do love it in versions of Maverick with Minsk and Boo because it allows you to attack with the Minsk or the Boo token and then sack it post combat for 3 or
Oh yeah,
4.
yeah, that's really neat actually.
Um, would you? I assume we still keep the snuff outs for Murktides.
I don't think so. I think there's a
Okay.
liability.
Yeah.
Like I don't think we want to be die with snuff outs in our hand.
Cool. Would you say then that's a pretty easy switch for the 2 endurance?
We still want to board out the collective for what it's worth.
Yes. Hmm.
And then I actually like I actually don't think we need Hoof in this matchup
Okay.
because I think Atraxa will win the game. And then I actually like the two Fairy Macabres too because they're on the reanimate game plan. And
Nice.
I actually like Fairy Macabre as new technology to prevent our Fiend Artisan from getting sniped by the Bowmasters.
Nice. Very tricky, Newton. I love that. That's nice. That's a nice clean 4 as well.
Yeah, I mean, I can send you this afterwards, but like essentially what I try to do is like I try to have perfect mapping for all of the most popular tempo matchups in the metagame. So traditionally that's been like blue red delver, right? But now I think there's an argument to be made. At least Shadow is at least as good, if not better, than Grixis Delver in terms of like popularity.
Yeah. I love this hand. Two of our most powerful, and then we have ramp and also Orcish to
Yeah,
interact.
it's perfectly fine. I think our worst enemy right now, like I said, is will be the clock. So speaking of Lair of the Hydra, as another rule of thumb is if unsure, generally speaking, you just lead with a card.
Okay. So we're looking at layer into Green Suns into Arbor.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. I guess once. Yeah.
Great question from Ming Empire from Chris. Why not take Saga? I want the land. That's okay.
That's a pretty huge win, to be fair.
Yeah, I actually that's great sequencing by you right there. As a general rule of thumb, I don't really care, and I want it to be known or to have the same gameplay across all games, so they can't tell when I'm actually land light. So I always never play land before Once Upon a Time, unless I want to thin. But that's the only thing. Like I'll typically just run it out and then run out the once into days. If they want days, it then they're just behind on mana, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, now we have probably just hold up Orcish Bowmaster.
I
But
almost say we want to main phase this, right?
yeah, cool.
Because we don't have any targets. Like we don't care about their bowmasters.
Very true. Nice. This also just leads up to a natural order next turn, which is pretty crazy.
It does, yeah.
If
Well,
we
we
really
can't.
want.
We need a black pitch, but yes, we have to draw a one drop because we can't actually pitch the bowmasters.
Oh, oh wow. Okay. Didn't pick up on that. Can we activate this for 0? No. Okay.
You have to
But
activate at least for one.
okay. Which I guess is kind of a net 1 with Cradle, so it's kind of you get a mana back.
I think here we just want to play around the days, play the cradle, right? We
Yeah.
have two.
Perfect.
There's a to be made. We try to get our opponent with the bowmasters there in case they brainstorm. I feel like that never works, but I could be wrong.
Nice. So I guess if you did have a creature you really cared about and your opponent made you sacked, you could actually activate the lair here to make it a 1/1.
You could, yes. It's come up where they have like edict effects or whatnot, like a Shieldred's edict right now.
There's a reanimate. That is going to be fine. It's only going to trade with the orc.
Sure, I don't think it's that great here personally, but
Yeah. Well, lair is also a creature we could sack to Artisan if you really wanted to. What's this? Dismember?
it is. It's actually come up a decent amount. All right, we're trading resources here, which is fine. Um,
Oh, and a
oh,
shadow? Okay.
we do have to hit not a land here. That's a pretty good draw. Actually, we gotta do a really cool line next turn.
Is it activate the lair for make it a 1/1, then sack it to natural order?
Yeah, and we'll
Nice.
have enough mana too.
Do you have to tap the lair itself? You don't. So you can tap this for mana.
Exactly. That's actually
Okay, that's
really good.
cool.
And we're gonna put our tracks into play, and then
Nice. Is there one card left? Yeah, so obviously
Yeah.
it's 1-2, activate this.
Yeah.
Then we have tap Cradle for 2, play the other Cradle. We even have a mana left over.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Keep this one.
You can actually have played the Saga there too, for what it's worth.
Yes, I could have.
But
Apologize.
this one is fine too because you get to actually play the creature you draw off the Atraxa. It's probably just game over, to be honest.
Okay, so here we get instant, we get Planeswalker,
Yep.
we get land, we get creature, and I think here probably doesn't matter, but probably just Reclaimer.
I think it's also Reclaimer here because we have a Gris next turn, so we're just trying not to get cheesed here.
Yes. We can
I
also
think for the
play.
most part, it's probably over.
Nice, man. Natural at hey.
This is what I mean by also as well. I mean, I guess they have outs, but it's really hard to beat an Atraxa.
Hmm. Yeah, like
Sometimes
Living
you get
Brazen Roar.
sloppy on the because you think it's over. So I think that would be the only caution. Like, don't get sloppy because you resolved an Atraxa.
Yeah. So they can make this an 8/8. So I assume we just take this.
If they dress down here, we're dead for what it's worth.
Ah, really nice. Then I would say at this point it's probably the Shepherd we care about the least.
Agreed. I don't think we care about Shepherd here.
Dress Down's a really nice card to play around. Because
Yeah,
that would be brutal.
I don't want us to throw the game for no reason here.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Shepherd's kind of done its role, which is really nice. Oof.
I think what we can do here is
2, 3. Try to look for an exalted creature.
Yeah. And you can actually it's kind of free to I think the way I would sequence it is like play the Saga, play the Gris off the Saga +1, and then that gives you more mana to do everything.
Nice.
Right? Because you want to play the Gris regardless.
Just don't hit a exalted
And you don't
creature.
care about the
Oh,
Bowmasters. And then a Exalted Trigger probably just wins the game
so
here.
close.
But we didn't draw it, unfortunately.
I think we just take a
Take fetch, right? Or
Yeah.
actually the Cradle's fine too.
Probably attack with both, but lethal.
I wouldn't attack with
You
both.
wouldn't? Okay.
Because because we don't want them to trade. Like our creature not trade, but I think the chump block means that it like they can chump block for it forever is what I'm saying.
Hmm. That's fair. Yeah, there's no real difference in them having, say, the army token than not. They can't fetch. Go out on their own terms. Nice. I'm gonna put the deck up for a second. I'm just gonna go to the bathroom, but I'll be back in a second if you want to talk
Sounds
to
good.
chat.
I gotta use the restroom real quick too.
All right. We'll be right back. Nice. 1-0. Very cool. Hey team, nice to have you all here. And of course, nice to have Newton here. This deck's sweet. I've wanted to play it for a while, so to have Newton on board is pretty special. I hear him coming. Hey Carador. Yeah, I like that as well. I do think that the Jaguar Natural Order is the best one. Although the dude who's holding the big ball, also pretty good. It is a ball, right? Natural Order.
So I'm back.
What is your favorite Natural Order art? Okay. Up against Harry on Mav.
That's a great question. I happen to own the one that looks like the Hulk. I think that's like really funny. I find it amusing at least.
I think against Maverick this is fine. Just building up mana.
I think this is like good outside like spell combo against almost any deck.
Yeah. All right. Harry's been killing it with Maverick recently.
Oh yeah, I know. I love it. And even before his top 4 from the challenge last week, I know you asked me like for my thoughts, and we're gonna do this later, but I think here we just take the Fiend Artisan, right?
Yeah. Do you want double Fiend, or would you rather? I guess endurance isn't that big of an issue. It's really just keeping their creatures at low. And Harry doesn't typically play Ramen Up Excavator, which is good to know.
I think given against Harry's deck, none of the other cards are like relevant.
Yeah.
So I just take the high upside card. I typically don't like to double up, but in this case, the other options are not great. I think here I would just go like Bayou into Noble, right?
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. The only other choice was potentially a Forest, but I think
Yeah, I
this
mean
is
we
fine,
already have
especially
3
with how much
lands.
mana we have. Yeah, that's a great point. Especially if they're taking their time to like Wasteland us and play another 1-drop, I think that's much better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Reptilian Man from Portal is what Jake's talking about.
Reptilian Man. Nice. There it is. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
That is
that's
pretty
the
sweet.
art I own.
Yeah. That's cool. Okay. I can get behind that. Wasteland Second Mum isn't too bad. No attacks either, probably just playing around Snuff Out. But here we get to go Ignobled Cradle Fiend.
That is definitely the high upside play, and I actually love it. I like it because they already use one wasteland, and I think we still have the reclaimer, so it's not like we can just get another wasteland later. So if like a wasteland here's not backbreaking, so I like the play.
Do you know who doesn't care about protection? Newton?
Who doesn't care about protection? What do you mean? Oh,
Cradlehoof. Cradlehoof doesn't care about protection.
that's true because we have it's oops all cradles, right? Back to the back what's it called? Back to the namesake name from back in the day. Back to the roots.
Given another Wasteland, would you try to use the 2 Hierarchs to once for another Cradle next turn?
No, I
No?
think I only once for land if literally I need to hit my land drop, and I will lose otherwise. So like against Delver, for instance, if they've like wasted me, I'm not like stuck on like 2 lands, then I will like once just to hit my land drop. But I typically don't like to take those Hail Mary plays unless I'm backed into a corner.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think as well we get to double spell anyway.
Yeah, this deck does do that a lot.
Is there a thought of just fetching for a Forest? Because then if we get Wastelanded again off the Bayou, we have no Swamp left for Snuff Out at free mana. I guess with the double mums, it doesn't really matter.
I think you can fetch for yeah, I think you can fetch for basic force here because of the double mom to lock out Snuff Out already. And the other reason why I think I would fetch that is because we're gonna rotate it anyways.
I assume just another
So what
Fiend and Reclaimer here.
so what I mean by that is like so one of the things that people have trouble with this build is you kind of have to plan at least one, often two turns in advance. And we know down the road we're gonna reclaim our way the land, right? So that's why that's why a lot of times it's optimal to fetch the land you don't want.
Yes, I think that's a massive thing for depth players as well, because you have so many lands you're going to get rid of with Reclaimer, Crop Rotation, Knight, that you don't always want to go for your most optimal land first up.
Makes sense, makes sense. Yeah, like I think that's something that a lot of players realize immediately, but it's hard to break the habit.
Hmm,
I mean, to quote Linkin Park, right?
nice. Yeah, because even a little thing with depths is flagstones and making sure you actually have targets left in the deck for flagstones, or else there's no point in
Ex-
sacking it.
exactly right.
Dried Arbor. Um, oh, oof. A mana
Mm.
off. Um, Here I kind of like once for a land, put it into play, then just hold up Reclaimer for a Cradle.
Um, the reason why I don't like that is because we know we have a kill next turn. So I
We
feel like we
do.
just play the shepherd and we have a guaranteed kill. Like if we whiff off the ones, it's pretty bad here.
Yeah, that's a great take. Which means we probably can attack with the Fiend Artisan if we want to for 3.
They have a mom.
They do, but I guess like like if we had sack for a bog and then it actually doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Yeah,
I think if they had one, like maybe you can like tempt fate that they like think we have combat tricks or something. But then keep in mind we don't have snuffed out represented here either. I
correct.
just don't think it's worth it.
Yes, correct. We kind of want to see them tap out here for a creature.
Another thing that's kind of like important about this deck is like a lot of times you'll be put into position whether you have to choose whether you want to play around wasteland or removal, and make sure you don't open yourself up to both simultaneously. It didn't matter here, but here we're just playing around. Um, it didn't matter here. Yeah, I guess is the best way I can explain it.
Yeah, one thing to note as well is that we've been pretty fortunate that Harry, I believe, is on the Black Splash and hasn't hit a black mana or had an early orc.
So here we just have lethal, right? Technically, you can
Yes,
even once first, but there's really no need.
correct. Uh, it's probably an ignobled just because that's an extra damage through the Shepherd.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it matters, but yeah. So if we really wanted to play it cleanly there, what we can do is like we can once first and then play the second cradle or something like that, and then we just win through. I don't know, multiple. Who knows what they could have, right? Like gut shot, I guess.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Obviously, we know Harry's deck doesn't have that, but I'm just saying like for those in the interest of time we're like shortcutting a little bit, but if you want to play like technically sound, that's like something to think about.
So I would say that Snuff Outs are great because one card that I really care about is Containment Priest.
Yes, stuff out's amazing in any green creature matchup mirror.
Yeah, I would say again with most Maverick decks moving away from Stoneforge as well, that Collector Oof is just not good enough. The
Yes, collective oof is really like your it's filling the role that like Gaddock Teeg used to fill, except you don't need white mana, so it's like even nicer.
Yes. Shepherd's interesting one. Obviously not that relevant, but it is a green creature for. It's an early creature for Fiend and Grist, but I don't think that's enough to keep it in.
Agreed. I don't like it at all against these non-blue non-chalice decks.
Um,
I like Needle a lot for what's worth.
yeah, nice. Mainly for Wasteland. I guess it's also
For
some
neither
kind of like
Reliquary
an.
in case you don't draw the snuff out, right?
Yes, nice,
And then I think you can cut like an endurance. We don't have anything
nice.
else that's like relevant in the sideboard. I don't like C's in these like creature mirrors.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't mind it in some of the decks that replace themselves, like D&T, where they have so many cards to replace. Oh,
Hmm.
okay. This is pretty nice.
I mean, yeah, we have like one of the most broken cards in our deck right now, right? That only our deck can play.
Okay. I think that's easy choice here is just Wooded Foothills into Bayou, play the Noble, and then snuff out the Mum.
Yes. Especially since if we don't use it here, it's dead later, right?
Correct.
This is what I'm talking about. Like it just feels like you're cheating when you're playing Snuff Out. I've had like turns where like I go play like 4 spells in the same turn or 3 spells in the same turn, right? On turn 1, like once into Snuff into Dork is like pretty broken.
I think here double spelling is quite nice if we can just play Reclaimer and then Green Suns for our own Arbor.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Probably no reason to fetch either, just because that could be another Arbor.
No, we have a Trax the next turn. This is actually I think this matchup here kind of showcases one of the strengths of the deck. A lot of decks will try to mana denial us, and we actually play a lot of lands and a lot of dorks. So essentially, most of the time, spot removal is just a speed bump for us. Like they actually, like we're only weak, I think, to the things that kill us turn 1, or the things that don't let us search, like Cage or Priest, I guess.
Yeah. I'm going to fetch here because we want to play the Artisan and then just hold up Reclaimer to probably get Cradle to be able to feed Artisan for Grist to turn off the Teeg. So I will keep the Bayou in the deck. Maybe that's incorrect. I think that's actually incorrect to not get the Bayou because next turn being able to fetch the Dryad Arbor for Cradle, but also to pitch to the natural. No, pitch to the Artisan.
If it were me there, I would fetch Bayou, and the reason why is you have Reclaimer protected already. And in case you draw the Snuff Out down the road, right? Because again, you want to plan ahead. You want every additional fetch, you want it to represent a creature. So you kind of want to preempt it. Ooh.
This doesn't matter because we can block with the Arbor, then sack it before damage.
That's true. We can.
But still, I did not expect this. So I'm going to assume Harry's actually playing just like a mono green-white Stoneblade list.
Yeah, it looks like they don't have Harry doesn't have black, but this is the. It's funny because there were jokes before. This would be the we have a Queen Ranger at home joke, right?
Yeah.
Fogging the Gaddock Teeg slash GT.
My only question here is, do we want to get the Dryad Arbor out of the deck to sack to the Fiend? I
think so, yeah.
4 mana. Sack this. I guess they
We got to kill the Teeg, right?
Yeah. I was just thinking if there was another way to do it where we could also hold up Reclaimer again to block the Arbor coming in with the Jitte, but I don't think we care about the Jitte at this point.
I think if we wanted to be like technically correct, what I would have done was like I think you can just pitch the hierarchy, right?
Yes. Yeah. I guess that means we get to get in for a damage first.
Yeah. Because now we're gonna have natural order, like they're gonna have to like have containment freeze or something.
Correct.
Ideally, we would have had another. Well, we're out of arbors anyways. It's funny how these games turn out where like you kind of want that third arbor, which Lair of the Hydra sometimes does a bad impression of. The other reason why
Scrib's okay.
The other reason why we wanted to fetch Bayou there was, if nothing else, to bluff Snuff Out.
That's a great point. Maybe even take a turn off them to like wasteland us, but I guess
Hmm.
with the cradle in
Right.
play as well, it's quite tough for them to not hit the cradle.
Hmm. But here they know that we have no shields, or you know what I mean. Outside of maybe like we board enforcer or something.
Yeah. Does the Trax have trample?
It does not, but
Okay.
it's hard to beat an Atraxa.
Yes, but they do have a pro blue flyer, so we will have to get rid of the Script Ranger if we want to go that route.
For what it's worth, the odds. I mean, we're not guaranteed to hit it, but the odds of hitting a snuff out is pretty high.
Hmm.
Ooh. Okay, they didn't go for it. Luckily, interesting. I think they wanted to get on Atraxa.
Oh, what
Sorry,
is
not Atraxa.
okay? Okay, we
I
have
don't
a
know what
reader
that
here.
does.
Okay, so this is a 3 mana artifact. Equipped creature gets +3/+1 whenever equipped creature attacks. Create 2 tapped flying 1/1 spirit tokens. If that
Oh wow,
creature is legendary, instead create 2 of those tokens that are tapped and attacking. Okay, that's cool.
that's pretty good.
But Grist survives here, which is pretty huge.
Yeah.
I guess it would have anyway, but endurance. Um, does Cradle Hoof give the creatures haste? No.
Yes.
Oh, it does.
No. Hoof itself has haste, but the creatures
Yes.
do not. So I think you plus here.
Yeah. Is there a world? Hmm.
Actually, one second. I think you want to fetch first because you don't want to mill the bayou.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think potentially last turn I could have turned one of these forests into a lair, and that might
Mhm.
have been one, two,
It's actually
three.
kind of mana intensive. I don't think it would have changed the math too much. I think
Okay.
here we might have lethal, but I have to count the math. So they have 5 damage exactly, and we actually yeah, it should be lethal. We have 2, 4, 6, yeah.
They do get to untap the Arbor as well.
Yeah, Matt's here is the combat king here, right? Like here, I'm obviously terrible at aggro. I just do it because it's a necessary evil. Like a lot of times I just host lethal, but you know, Matt's here is
Yeah.
definitely the best combat. Sorry, limited player here.
Yeah. Oh, just okay. Lucky.
If
Lucky.
Cyrus are around, he just say, "Ah, math up for blockers." Like just all in, right? He used to say he would just, "Oh, this feels like lethal with Storm." So I kind of play the same way with elves.
Damn. You just made me that didn't feel great. I gotta say. But
So
that's
I get
very
this
cool to see. Sorry, that's very cool to see Harry playing around with green white.
Yeah, so I think we could have gone to Lair for the extra point of damage, like Matt said. This is just for the vibes, right? Like obviously we can clean up our play a little bit here.
Yeah, there's Harry. Yeah, that very cool to see you playing around with the Stoneforge package again, because in in the sideboarding I was like, oh, there's no Stoneforge to worry about. We can take out the collector oof.
So
But
Harry, if you stick around, I know after this league, we're gonna quickly discuss Fiend Artisan and like how to build it with Maverick. Obviously, we're gonna start from your template because I do like your list the most because I'm a big fan of Once Upon a Time and I'm glad you're playing it. But one of the cards that I'm like a little bit skeptical about is Script Ranger. Is there a specific reason why that card's in the deck?
it does give you access to like multiple mum activations, multiple mana activations, saving a land from a wasteland. Pro Blue's kind of cool in the air, especially with mum against Delver and Murktide.
Mm-hmm.
They're probably like the small things.
Yeah, because from a power perspective, I feel like it's a little bit lacking. But I know maybe that's like heresy to say.
Good with Knight as well. Yeah, that's true. I know it's one of Julian's favorite cards as well, and it's kind of one of those cards that I feel like it's very different for players who don't play with it. That once you do play with it, you're like, okay, that's kind of like the why.
So for what it's worth, I played with Crew Ranger, which is like, the smaller version of it,
That's
and my thing, I love Quarry Ranger. It's just I'm not sure like in today's Legacy, like we can afford like cards that are glue cards per se, but maybe don't outright win games. That might be true, Harry. You maybe Screw Rangers are better than Quarry Ranger.
Bayou Ignobled.
It definitely pained me to cut Quarry Ranger. This is the mirror, I think.
Oh, okay.
Metalfish is one of the people in. Oof. Oh, this is a nice line that we have here.
Is it Bowmaster? Wait, is there a way? Yeah, there's no way to get both. We have the Cradle.
I
So
feel like we
the
can just like
Bowmaster's
super
free-ish.
ramp here, right? Huh?
We play the Bowmaster out, and then we have Cradle for 2. And then Green
Probably
Suns
get
for.
Fiend, to be honest, right?
You just Green Suns for Fiend Artisan here?
I
Because
don't
we're
think Grist is
3.
doing anything on this board state, and neither is the
Yes.
Collective. And I think the Bowmaster here is like kind of broken with Cradle because it's free and it ramps you double next turn.
Yeah, apologies. I totally forgot that we get 3 mana off the Cradle, not just 2.
Yeah, so no worries. But yeah, it's this is this is like the almost like the Wombo combo, right? For Bowmasters and Cradle. You just like Mogwar Marshal is pretty good when you have Cradle.
Yeah, like this is our turn 2.
It's pretty gross, right?
Interesting.
Oh, they're playing swords. Oh, they're breaking my rule. Why are they playing 3 colors?
Okay, not the worst. 368. I mean, another Cradle just gets there. Which I know, like, it's very unrealistic, but.
I mean, we have lethal the following turn still, which is kind of crazy to think about.
What's free? So
So
we
yeah,
want to
we can just
black for
like vomit
Grist.
our hand here.
Yeah. Play land. Play oof. Grist. Oh my gosh. Is there a card you care about, or would you rather just tick up? Like taking out Reclaimer? I guess
Um,
one thing to think about is that the worst case, I believe, is they have 1 card in hand, is access to 4 mana and natural order, most likely. But do we even care about that?
we might. Let's see. If their last card is natural order, they can tick 1, get another creature. Uh, it'll be close to lethal, but there's a chance we just like attack their mana too for what it's worth. But they can just go draw Cradle too. Given that we have lethal anyways, I feel like we just want to play it safe, right? Like, what do we care about here? And I think
Yeah.
the answer to that is, I think we don't want our opponent to cast natural order, right?
Yeah. So I assume we take out the
Probably just take out their
ignobled.
dork, yeah.
Yeah. Do we want to do that post to like attack
Uh,
with something with exalted?
yeah, we can attack with Exalted. Want to trade, then we're perfectly fine with that. Like, I don't think they're gonna trade here.
Hey, Star Fox, welcome. An Aussie Elves player, very good Elves player as well. Hmm.
Probably just pitch the Orc army.
Yeah. Nice. Man. I think this week I'm going to be playing a lot of elves.
Are you liking the vibes of this deck?
It's really fun.
Yeah, it's a lot. There's a lot of decisions, and it rewards type play, which is I think you enjoy because being a Maverick player.
Yeah, you really can't let those little issues snowball. Wow, they tick up.
I
Nice.
Yeah, I feel like they take. Okay, we just have lethal here.
We can actually play the Fiend as well. Yes. No. Oh, yeah. I guess we get a tap.
I wouldn't play the Fiend. Well, you could, I guess. I don't think it matters. The reason why I wouldn't play the Fiend is because you have an extra attacker.
Yeah. I should actually tap this because then we get the extra damage in.
Right. So that would be the reason not to play Fiend because you're down an attacker.
Newton. Hoof. There it is. Nice.
So this is the easy mode, right?
Yeah, look at that.
So this is. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say this is kind of a mix between the two decks of Maverick and Elves, but it looks more on the Elf side.
So I get the question asked a lot. Oh, can we splash white for Swords of Plowshares? I'm not entirely convinced Swords is better than Snuff Alley in our deck because one is free, one is not. And I know we have a little bit of a weakness to Merit Lage, that is like for sure. But Snuff Out is like really broken in our deck, and I think we should take advantage that we have better mana, and we're one of the few, if only, decks that actually can play 4 Snuff Outs because we don't care about Bowmasters.
In this matchup, I would assume it's just the extra snuff outs for an endurance and the oof.
I like C's too because natural order is the way you lose, right? Or Fiend Artisan.
Okay, nice. Probably the other endurance then.
You can probably board out Bog, to be honest. Like,
yeah,
I think this matchup is going to be fast, so you can probably board out Saga too.
Nice. Shepherd?
Against, I don't like Shepherd for what's worth.
Nice. Would you rather a Shepherd than a copy of Endurance?
I don't think Endurance does anything in this matchup. Like,
cool.
The cards that matter is Natural Order and Artisan, and not because of its size.
Nice.
I think Needle might be okay for what it's worth.
Yeah, probably over the extra Shepherd.
Over the Ever Shepherd, right?
Cool. Nice.
And just go with this.
That's why I like a clean sideboard. Very cool to hear, me.
Chris.
Pretty great hand, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it's got one of the most important cards in the matchup.
It turns on everything as well. Like, Natural Order is not too far away off the top. Green Suns, we can start greening something for Grist ASAP.
Mm-hmm.
I would also say that if Natural Order is the card we care about, we don't need to Thoughtseize here. But if we do care about something earlier, like Fiend Artisan, then
I think you have to take the Fiend Artisan out of their hand or the Green Sun.
Yeah.
Nice. Also, we don't get rewarded here for ramping because we don't have any payoff yet. So
look at that.
Yeah, we just take the Artisan here. That's the only that is like that natural like the only cards that matter. And then we can still ramp next turn. Ironically enough, I hate saying this, but Reclaim actually doesn't do too much in this mirror matchup. It's kind of a race. As much as it pains me.
Okay. What are your thoughts? It's probably... I think because of the Green Suns, I'm more inclined to go for double Mana Dork here.
Yes. And if you're unsure, it's almost always right to ramp. Like, if you are unsure of the line, more often than not, just taking the line that makes the most mana is probably the right one. I can't guarantee it's always gonna be the right one, but more often than not, it will be. And I would say it's more than just a coin flip. It's probably like 80-20 or 70-30, like roughly the times that's right.
Bog is more than fine. Now that it's holding up
I'm afraid for the
endurance.
day where somebody's gonna try to win the green mirror and start playing opposition agent. I want a green truce, so to speak, right? Nobody should play this arms race of opposition agent to win the green mirror.
With endurance coming down, I probably don't want to get grist out too early, so I don't mind just ramping again.
I don't think we get grist here. I think we play to win, right? Like,
Yeah.
I
I
think the
guess.
card that wins us the game here is Fiend Artisan, and we don't want it to be like potentially stripped off a Thoughtseize.
Yeah, perfect. So we can just play out our hand here pretty much.
Yeah, I think we just play our hand, right? Just like boom, 5 creatures, just ramp everything. I'm sorry, not 5 creatures. Spend all 5 mana, 3, 2, 1, and 1.
Nice.
Yes, the anniversary is in like roughly half a month or whatever in August.
3,
So we
6.
draw a Cradle, we just straight out win. And the reason why we did this is we don't want our opponent to top deck Thoughtseize and just like strip our Fiend Artisan for no reason. Now we died to natural order top deck here, but given that we're not a blue deck, that's just something we live with.
Yeah. I'm not too unhappy about that. Noble's free. 3 cards left, 1's endurance.
We just gotta fade natural order, right? That's like the only card that kills us now.
Going to attacks. So looking pretty good.
This is what I mean by endurance doesn't do anything in this matchup, right? Like, obviously they can endurance you into Bowmasters, but like unless they have that exact combination, I don't think it's worth it.
We have a lot of live top decks. Once does it. Obviously Cradle. Noble does not, but... So we have access to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana.
Yes, 6. We're just short, unfortunately. We'll just play for the well, what we could do here is we can start to shrink our opponent's mana
Hmm.
by getting our Bowmasters, right?
Yeah, that's a great point. Which I'm
So
probably...
we can attack their mana. Probably just kill their to be honest. They're cut off black, so I feel like I almost want to take their ignoble out right here, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. So let's probably just get rid of the Dried Arbor.
Um yeah, or if you want to play around, like maybe they have Plague Engineer or something, you can like but our hand like dies to Plague Engineer. We have like 2 sets of the hierarchs, so it doesn't matter.
And then holding up 2 for Cradle as well.
Sure.
Nice.
Yeah, so we have lethal here, so we just want to like speed bump them a little bit.
Probably just flash in the... I guess they don't need to flash mana for endurance, but...
They can just tap. I guess they have 4 or 5 mana. Maybe they have endurance into reclaimer activation, right?
Yes, that's actually a great one.
But yes, let's have a truce among all Cradle players. Nobody will play opposition agent to win the mirror. Not that it necessarily does. Like it's a little slow too, for what it's worth.
What was the card in your sideboard that you played? I think it's called... Is it something Fiend? Mesmeric Fiend? It's like a 2 mana duress?
It's better than Duress. It's a 2 mana a seize, but without the life loss. I think the card is a little bit worse now because some of the combo decks are playing Bowmasters as well. Also, Veil of Summer is kind of on the rise,
Hmm.
so I've cut it for now. But I think it's perfectly fine as a tutorable discard spell.
It's always cool to see your sideboards and be like, oh, maybe I'll try that in Maverick.
You talking about Ms. Fiend? Yeah, I actually really like the card, and uh, if Mats is here still in the chat, he's an animal. He played even 2 copies. It's like too wild for me. But like before Lord of the Rings, but
Wait, did it play the Cradle without tapping it for mana?
yeah, it might have been misclick. That's the only reasoning.
Or building the Reclaimer up? But
I mean, they have access to that anyways via activation. The other thing it does here by hitting the ignoble is even if our opponent had opposition agent, now they don't have the black mana, right?
exactly.
And then I think we have lethal here outside of maybe like a Boseiju on the cradle. That's like maybe the only thing. All right, I guess we can just check what they have. Doesn't hurt.
Look at that. Boom. Clean, Newton. Deck's been pretty kind to us. We've had all really nice 7s. And I think that's just because you have so many ways to ramp in the deck that it's pretty hard to get a bad 7. Like, it'd have to be like multiple natural order targets or like both Dryads or something.
Yeah, I think I came to the conclusion a while back that like I think the premise is I think our deck is better than is like I'm biased obviously. I think it's the best deck in Legacy, and I just don't want to lose to ourselves. So what I'm really focused on lately is just reducing the failure rate. So namely like any cards that are uncastable, I want to like really minimize those. So really it's only a Traxxas that's uncastable. And I've casted like 4 times or whatever total.
Nice. What do we play against? Shadow, Elves, Maverick.
Yeah, not necessarily in that order, but yeah.
I've been really enjoying League recently. There's been a lot of different decks to play against.
I think leagues. It's like it's like I can be on the fence with that, right? Like I definitely for anybody who knows, there's maybe you know him even, Dukes. There's the Maniac Elves player that was like the trophy leader a while back, but we don't know what happened to them. But leagues have been very kind to me in the past because it gives you good testing against combo. The problem is it can get a little bit boring. Is my take on that.
Especially when you need a sideboard for combo. I don't like that. I don't like when you have to
Yeah,
like dedicate a lot of space for it.
I think so. That's the thing, right? Like, the sideboard is built, and part of the reason why I only run 2 Bowmasters is just because I want to make sure we keep our strength, right? Which is we're one of the few non-blue decks that actually has a pretty decent combo matchup. I'm not gonna say we can win, against some of these Rite of Flame players, but I think the Reanimator matchup is like okay. I think the Show and Tell matchup is like okay. I think you're really only a big dog to like Rite of Flame, and that's not a bad position to be in, given that I think combo decks are roughly what 30% of the meta.
Yeah. I love this hand. I think we get rewarded by a land off the top.
Mm-hmm.
And otherwise we just have like a good plan to move towards, which is accelerate into Fiend.
The other thing you kind of seen too is like how powerful Gaia's Cradle is. It's kind of like why even though Shepherd's not a great card per se in our deck, I still really want to keep the high 1-drop density because I want to like maximize the strength of the deck, which is it's really a Gaia's Cradle deck at the end of the day that happens to play just all good cards.
Yeah. One quote that sticks out with me, is definitely Reduke saying that he believed the most powerful card in Legacy with Gaia's Cradle. That was a little while ago, but I think he would be. I'm going to lead on the Lair here. It's probably the card we don't really get wastelanded.
Yeah, I would agree. Also, there's a chance we want to just like I would leave with the well, that's fine too. The other thing is like there's a chance we want a Cradle next turn as well, and then we don't want Lair to come in tapped later on.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. I lit on the Hierarch just in case this is a Sword Splashers deck and we want the extra black source from
Yeah,
Ignoble
yeah,
for
that's
Snuff.
perfectly reasonable. If you suspect swords, that's like a perfectly reasonable thing.
Especially Cracker's Pass typically means they have. Oh, okay, initiative,
Uh-oh.
which I'm pretty happy to have the Snuff out against.
Yeah, but it kind of pains me now that we drew the layer, right? Because if they play Archon here, it's a little awkward. Uh-oh. Might be
I really hope
I
it's
forgot what that
caves.
board drop. Say that again.
I hope it's caves. Oh, 5? Is this a fury? Oh, hardcast solitude. Okay.
Oh wow,
Honestly,
okay.
not too bad.
I actually think that's a win for us, personally.
Yeah. I think you would have snap out straight away so they can't blink it on their turn.
No, I don't think so.
No?
I don't think we want to give that solitude value is the problem.
Okay.
Um,
Then it's what about fetch to hold up either Dried Arbor or Bayou and play Ignobled?
I like ignoble, yeah, into fetch as well here.
Nice.
Fiend Artisan, one of the down parts about the card is it doesn't do anything when you don't have other creatures. So like you can't really just play it on turn 2.
Hmm. Honestly, that's a
Which is
pretty
like,
big trade because they got rid of a Pedal and also a Simian Spirit Guy just to get the Solitude into play.
mm-hmm. The other thing here is like if for some reason they have Magus main deck, you can just like fetch the basic here as well,
Correct.
which I don't mind.
Caves.
Sure.
Okay.
That's the other reason why we held Snuff out, right? Like if they attack now, we can just steal the initiative and just like put 2 fiends into play.
Yeah. Which is really nice. Nice.
I think you might want to actually play the Bayou here. Get the Bayou here.
Yeah, and then we can play the Cradle next turn.
Exactly. Because we're snuffing out no matter what here.
Yeah. I mean, like, second snuff out would be pretty sweet. Okay. So we probably want to attack with the Hierarch this turn to take the initiative. So taking out the
100%.
caves.
Yeah.
What leaves us with 4 mana. 1-2, play a creature 3-4. So we can snuff, cradle, fiend, fiend.
Yeah, I would take that exact line. Here we're getting a little bit punished because of the layer of Hydra. What's it called on turn 1.
Hey, Ramar. Ramar, big congratulations on your win at was it the Legacy Chicken Dip tournament? Nice. 2 Fiend. Are we putting a Fiend in front of this Solitude?
I think so. Well, it depends,
then it starts
right?
growing. That's the thing. If they forge, it's a little bit harder to.
It might not even be worth it, to be honest. They can't forge because we have the initiative right now, right?
Yes, I guess they have to attack first and then see how it goes. 3, 4, 5.
I'm trying to think if it's
have...
even worth it here to block.
We do have Grist next turn, which is pretty nice.
I feel like we let them get it, right? Like we don't care.
Cool.
We're because the worst thing that can happen to us here is if we block and they draw a removal spell, then we're just out of luck. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, I agree with Matt's. Obviously, anything combat related, I'm just gonna defer to him because he is a much better combat math person than I am.
Look, some people call him Mathol.
I will blindly put my faith in Matt's when it comes to combat math. Ooh. So we know the last card in their hand, right?
Uh, they haven't played that mountain out. Yeah.
So ooh, this is just like really good for us, I think. I think we can steal the initiative back. Let's see, how much mana do we have? The Reclaimer is free, and then we can play another land. That gives us a total of 4, 5, 6 mana.
Hmm.
Yeah, I feel like we can just like
7 mana. Because it'll be 4 creatures and then 3 left over.
well, we have to attack, right?
Yes.
I'm
So
thinking
if
about
we.
it like double fiend lines, if that makes sense.
Okay.
But I think we're short for just to lock to slam the door with oof plus they have a round anyway, so it's probably fine. I think here I feel like we attack with one fiend and then play the play the reclaimer, use the other fiend, kill the or plus the solitude. Oh, sorry, we're gonna lock out their we're gonna probably get Gris and then potentially just lock them out.
Yep.
Your Bowmaster is pretty good too. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, I like that line a lot. So Matt's actually has the line here. So attack with
Yep.
Noble. We have 4. Yeah, it's exactly right. Yeah, that is a great line, Matt. And we have perfect
2
information too.
Bowmasters. Yeah, I didn't think about 2 Bowmasters.
Yeah,
That's pretty sweet.
we're getting rewarded for playing 2 copies already, right? The neat thing is we can just sack the token too, which is like pretty gross. Oh, always get lost well with this deck.
Oh, really? I thought because we were fetching it didn't matter, but maybe not.
Oh, you're right. You're right. But in general, yeah. I was thinking. I was just like brain farting here.
No, that's cool. That's all good. Yeah, so 6 mana total. We have to use 1, 2, 3. Get rid of the. I guess then I shouldn't have put the yeah, that's on me. I should
Didn't
have
you
put them
need
on
to not play
reclaimer.
the? I don't think it matters. We're pretty ahead, but and we have lethal next turn.
Nice.
Yeah, it's. I don't even know what would save our opponent here. Hardcast Fury, I guess, and that's not even a guarantee.
Nice.
No, but shout out to Max for seeing the line there. Obviously, I need more practice with this deck.
Yeah, Newton. Okay. Snuff outs are an easy one,
Yeah, they're
but I'll
completely broken in this matchup. The only
I'll
thing
let
is
you talk
we
about
have
the
to play
rest.
around Moon Magus if we can, but that's about it.
Mm.
I always give credit to Initiative, by the way. I would have never, really went out of my way to play Snuff Outs as many copies in main deck as I did if it weren't for Initiative meta, and I think it was a blessing in disguise from a deck development standpoint.
Does that mean? Do we care about like just does Shepard stay in because of Chalice? Do they keep Chalice in?
Regardless of whether they keep Chalice in, I think we just need 1-drops. Like we have to kind of curve
Mm.
out. It's almost like a tempo mirror. Saga is like really bad in this matchup because they have Magus as well. Not to mention it's
Mm.
just the matchup's way too fast. Um, I honestly kind of hate endurance in this matchup.
Hmm.
And let's see what else. I think a force is like reasonable. I don't love it, but probably better than endurance.
Nice. That's pretty
Oh,
sweet.
bog. You can board up bog too. It's like doesn't do anything.
Okay. Um.
And probably a second force. Like you can get lucky with it.
Yeah, I like that.
It's not good, Chris, but like we can like high roll with it. Is the other thing.
This could be our first mulligan. This hand is a
Oh,
little
we were
bit odd.
supposed to. Oh, go ahead. What did you say?
I was going to say this could be our first mulligan because this hand is a little bit tough. Just with the one land,
Yeah, Bowmaster's not particularly good here too.
I'd be happy to mull this.
Yeah, I would mull as well.
Um, Similar.
Not great, but better.
Yeah. It does have the Shepherd, which is nice as well as just a 1 mana play if we don't want to reclaim.
Yeah, and just bottom the Bowmaster. I think actually in hindsight, we probably should have mulled the Bowmasters.
Okay.
We do have a nice basic force, which means if they go for the cheese Magus line, we're like immune.
Yeah. Also, Shepherd beats Chalice here, which is great.
Right.
So
So
actually,
this is
quite
actually
a
kind of nice.
nice.
It's
Yeah.
this hand's not particularly exciting, but it beats a lot of their cheese lines. I would play Bayou, by the way.
Yeah, I'd kind of want them to play a Magus if they have one.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's kind of the opposite of like not playing a Caracas if you know you're up against like a legendary deck to like make them play it and then just Caracas it.
It's happened all too many times on my Atraxa. Although usually if you have a Atraxa out, you're gonna win anyways.
I mean, this is a big turn here because Collective turning off this Chrome Mox next turn, they don't have something good. Like if
Yeah,
it's a Blood
there
Moon
is.
or a Magus, that's fantastic for us.
Say that again.
If it's a Blood Moon or a Magus here, it's fantastic for us because it takes them off. Okay.
Oh, well, agreed. Yeah.
I mean, Oof here also hitting the treasure is pretty key.
Yeah, I think we're kind of like almost tunnel visioning into the collective now, right?
Yeah. Um, yeah. I still think the ability to take them off 2 mana here next turn is
Yeah,
just got to be the Oof.
right. There's a big difference between hard cast and not solitude.
Correct. Yeah. I'm not sure if in the 75 they do have Source of Plowshares, but with Chalice on one, it's really nice to know we don't have to worry about it.
You're right. I feel like the old initiative decks did have it. I don't know if the current ones do. Uh, the low key secret is Challenge actually not that great against us. Like, but not everybody knows that.
It is really nice to have to like push our opponent to really have to find Fury to deal with the board. And even if they do Fury things like Collector Oof or Shepherd here, it just grows Fiend Artisan, which is really nice.
Yeah. So Fiend Artisan has really helped the Fury decks for the exact reason you just mentioned. Also, I apologize if my baby, I'm holding him right now, cries out of the blue. So full disclosure.
That is more than fine. I will just take that as our opponent. Oof. Is there any flash creature to worry about?
Mind Sensor or Priest are like
Yeah.
possibilities.
I think then it's probably worth not attacking.
It depends. If it's Priest, obviously you get blown out. I would say probably not, and then just like play the Artisan, play the Arbor. Also, as a general rule of thumb, if you're unsure about what's the correct play, like I said, um, just spending all your mana is more often than not correct.
Yeah. Still
I
happy just to
apologize.
keep what we have? No, not at all. I can't hear a thing. Nice. Hey, Fire. I think you had that from. I I mean, we get to. Oh, we could go. I think we're just playing double spell again, but it's.
So the thing is kind of scary. The Kiki Jiki, but we don't have an answer to it at the moment. I think you are right. I would probably just double spell here.
This is fine. Get to attack with the oof for 3.
Yeah. I would probably be tempted to play the Reclaimer and ramp again with the Fiend Artisan.
Oh, just like turn a Dried Arbor into a Dried Arbor?
No, turn maybe the Shepherd into a Dried Arbor. It doesn't do anything here.
Oh, of course, cool. Yep.
You want to play the Reclaimer first, and then just like we've already cashed in on the Shepherd value, right?
Nice. Yeah, I love that. Very cool. Oh, sorry. We're all good. We're all good. We'll come back from this. It's fine. I like to put challenges up for you, and that was it.
Right. We're winning a little bit too easily, right?
Yeah. They do have Chalice, but I think what Newton's saying is at this point we've got so much value out of Shepherd already that we don't really care about the Chalice hitting anything.
Like we have an untapped Artisan. That's like what we're gonna be doing. We're not gonna be playing 1-drops.
I think Fury is the key card they're looking for.
Yeah, and maybe they don't have a pitch for it. If it's relevant, then we can tutor for a Shepherd later. We have the second copy, but I just don't think it's gonna be relevant going forward. The line here is we're gonna start trying to hoof our opponent pretty soon, or at least minimum taking out the Kiki Jiki. At least the binning of the Arbor wasn't a complete waste because your Artisan grew. So we have 4 mana next to. Oof.
Okay.
They probably take out the Artisan. I don't think they have a choice.
Yeah, it's either Artisan or Oof here to then hardcast something else.
Oh yeah, so if they're doing that, they're probably hardcasting the. They're gonna copy it with the KG.
Ah, smart. Matt Sol, it's both.
Yeah, so he's Matt's
It's
on the
both.
line. I don't think we care.
Oh, that's a pretty
That's a
great
really
draw.
good draw, yeah.
That's a pretty, yeah. So now we have play Artisan, hold up Reclaimer, snuff out on the, probably this right now.
I think it almost feels like the Shepherd attack is free here, right?
Yes.
And then you can play Artisan, snuff out their thing, and then Reclaimer for Cradle next turn, and we have lethal. Might be one off. I don't know. I always assume it's lethal.
I always assume it's lethal. That's a quote I'm going to keep in my head for now.
We probably just want to do it on our turn, so they can't. We're not allowing them to untap with the Kiki Jiki.
Yeah. Quick question: if they touch this in response, does it come back as Fable?
I think so.
and
But
resets.
somebody in chat probably knows the rules better than I do.
Cool, it does.
We're notably one short of.
Wow.
Okay,
They
they
just
conceded. That's good.
interesting. Are you
I
seeing
get that a lot.
this?
I get that a lot for what it's worth. The concede before it's almost like Dreadhorde, right? Like people used to concede just because they knew their opponent was gonna untap with Dreadhorde. Like Fiend Artisan's almost like we have Dreadhorde at home. Granted, with more building around, but it was probably a good idea to keep Shepard around after all. Is that sarcasm? I don't think we did anything with it, right?
Hmm. Hmm. This is sweet. This deck's cool.
It was representing lethal. I'm kind of confused what's going on. I didn't look at the board state too closely, but I was just counting hoof mana next turn.
You ever thought about opening up a cleaning business, Newton?
A what
A
business?
cleaning business?
Like dry cleaners? Like what kind of cleaning?
Well, because you're wiping up online. Dude, this is insane.
Okay, I didn't get the joke for a second.
But yeah, the like that was our first mulligan as well, but just had like a really nice plan from the 6 as well. But yeah, it's nice as well because if you look at all the X ones in the deck, like we have, when you think of a card like Plague Engineer, which isn't at seeing as much play as it used to, but we have like Goblin Shaman, Human Druid, Nightmare, Orc Archer, Elf Shaman. So like, is Shaman the only crossover in your X ones? And Dryad Arbor.
I think the best names against us tends to be insect because of Gris.
Insect. Yes, that's true.
Sometimes orc can be okay if like you care about orc. The thing is like right now, the plague engineer probably hits like 2 creatures at most.
Yeah. That's nuts.
Like
That
Dryad is actually really annoying because like it stops our end step like flash stuff essentially. Or not flash, but you know what I mean, end step fetch arbor like shenanigans. Shaman is like good but not at the same time because like late in the game we don't really care.
uh ooh. Look, I would actually keep this.
I would too.
Yeah, the attraction makes us a 6, but we have like once into a Manadork or just Green Suns into Arbor with a Bayou
Yeah,
for.
I think here we play it safe for what it's worth. I think this is one of the scenarios where we once and try to hit a land.
Okay, yeah.
Because I'm trying to think how we lose, and that is like one way to lose the game, I think.
Yeah, especially if they hit our Dryad Arbor and then we just untap with Land Cradle and can't do anything.
Right. So I think here once we just want to hit a land and then Green Sun.
Only goes to 6 cards. Another fetch is fantastic as well.
Yeah.
I'm actually gonna go Misty because if we go Misty Green Suns, they might think we're like a Bant or 4-color, kind of like natural order deck.
And you gotta get Bayou
Bayou,
obviously here.
yeah. I think that's fine. It's really, it's actually really weird seeing both Dried Arbors in the deck after playing a one Dried Arbor deck for so long. It's like a little bit of me is like, wait, did I add another one? It's like, oh, we're obviously playing a different.
It's funny too because like sometimes I want the third one. It's just like, oh shoot, I forgot I used both of them, and they're just like punted for no reason, right? But then the second one's been really good.
Yeah. Oof. Island. Okay. Well, Bowmaster's going to be sweet here. Especially with his Island Pass. Reclaim is nice.
So what would you do here?
So in this spot, I would probably Orcish in their upkeep, which is 2 mana. And then 1 mana left over. I'd probably just play the Cradle to play the Reclaimer.
Yeah, so I think this better sequencing is you want to play the Reclaimer first, and then see what they do before the Cradle.
Sorry. Okay, off the that's
So the reason why to do that is you don't want to give them free information, and then you want to probably. I feel like we almost want to try to bait them into the
end step brainstorm.
It feels like they're a cantrip deck, so maybe we can try to snap. It's your call. I think we can look at the Twitch chat to see what they think. I feel like we try to get them here.
Yeah, I don't like as in just hold up Bowmaster.
Yeah, just hold it.
Yeah.
It's like Telegraph, but it makes them play weird. Could just be Endurance or Opposition Agent too, obviously. Oh, we just go for it now.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, this is just a full blowout now.
Just for later. Unless it's like some sort of combo deck that can just combo off without drawing
It
cards.
probably is, given that the end step did it. But the thing is, like, the type of combo deck that want to do that, I think might be Show and Tell, and Atraxa looks pretty good here.
Yeah. D-Step with the note as well. We're playing around days this whole time, which is pretty fantastic.
Right. So the thing is, like, we wanted to also play the Cradle after we play the Reclaimer, because then we don't want to give them information. They might just want to force, right? Then we have to play in 2 days.
Exactly. I think that's very similar with old school Thalia lines with not playing Caracas first, because they might think, okay, I won't like force this because I have a bolt or something.
Right. Especially I like D&T. You just this suddenly the Thalia is a pain in the you know what for them.
Nice. Okay.
Ooh. I wonder what they have.
Cabal. Okay.
Looks like Ant.
Yeah. They're just going for an Adnors here? LED. Okay.
It might be going for
Yeah.
it looks like Adnors here. This is not our hardest matchup, but I don't love it for what it's worth.
Oof. There's the Infernal Tutor with
now we're
LED.
dead. Might lose the 5-0 to the Ant player, unfortunately.
Hey. I don't want to hear that. We got this, all right? We got this. Yeah, this is a case of like Brainstorm, like Bowmaster in response to Brainstorm is fantastic, but some decks just won't care about it.
Yeah, theirs is one of them, unfortunately. Funny, we swapped out the Veil Summers right before this league.
So I would straight away go for the Grists and the Snuff Outs.
Yeah.
Obviously like the Thought Seizers. That's like kind of an easy 4/4. I'm not sure how much we care about Graveyard. Obviously there's cards like Past, and sometimes you can get them with cutting off Cabal, but it's a case of like what other cards aren't good enough.
I personally don't like. They're gonna be playing probably around Endurance anyway, so I actually board them out.
Okay. Yeah.
I think Fairy is like reasonable because it doesn't cost you a card, and it unlike also one of the strongest cards that they have against us is Dress Down, and Fairy plays around that, unlike Endurance.
Nice. Yeah.
Let's see. Did we see Witchclaw?
We didn't, but I would assume it's in the deck.
I think it probably is as well. And I'm looking for a way to cut more cards. I kind of want the needle for just the Witchclaw.
Yeah.
Or let me see. I'm looking at my map here. Yeah, I feel like the needle for the Witchclaw might be relevant. We have cuts. Shepherd is bad here.
Okay.
Attrax is not great, but it might draw you into like Thoughtseize or something if you have 5 mana.
Hmm. It's also really nice if it just connects once.
Hmm?
It's also really nice if it just connects once, which I
Right.
guess is the same for Hoof, but a little bit different.
I think here I'd probably just take out the layer too for what it's worth.
The lair? Okay.
Actually, we have one Shepherd left.
Correct.
I think I like the other needle better than that.
Cool. And then keeping the lair.
Yeah. We just want to hit land drops.
Nice.
I think you have to mold this.
Yeah, I think in the blind it's fine, but I think you really want to have something like Thoughtseize in the opener.
Mm-hmm.
Not Thoughtseize, but it is pretty close to a turn 3 natural order.
It is a turn 3 natural order. The problem with that is I think that's probably too slow. Fiend Artisan's kind of slow as well. It almost feels Fiend Artisan. It's a turn 3 oof.
Oof. Yeah.
I think we keep it. I don't think we have many great hands for what's worth.
Yeah, I think going to 5 for a Thoughtseize, leaving us with like 4 cards to then try to win the game is quite tough.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any I assume we just bottom the Bayou here and just have the 3
fetch lands are really good for us because they grow Reclaimer, they represent arbors and whatnot.
Yeah. So probably Verdant Bayou Noble. And then at least we have turn 2 Artisan into Dried Arbor.
Looks like they mold as well. The good thing is our hand is like somewhat redundant. I mean, resilient to Thoughtseize here because if we have 2 payoffs more or less.
Only goes to 6. I think Oof's a really nice speed bump here with the natural order, just to buy some time.
Oof will probably not be enough, but our deck does top deck well. The problem is our deck is not really built to be Amp. It's got even worse too because before this league we cut Veil Summers, but can't beat everything. This is like probably not a great matchup.
I'm happy holding the ones here and just sticking with Fiend Dried Arbor.
You're talking about Artisan into Arbor, right?
Correct.
Into Fetch, right? Yeah, that's the line. Play around Days just in case.
Yeah, should have.
Not that I don't think they have it, but you never know.
Yeah, there's no point in not playing the land first there.
Yeah, no Veils really hurts this matchup, unfortunately. We'll have an interesting decision to make on the following turn, whether to natural order or just get the collective move.
Oh, Newton.
Given that natural order is not lethal and Atraxa actually doesn't draw us anything with 0 mana up, most likely going to be a collective.
But we can natural order into Collector Oof Newton. Huh.
I have done that non-zero amount of times.
They missed a land drop. That's huge. So they're not brainstorm locked.
But... obviously.
Yes. What if we draw Cradle here? Is that lethal? Yeah, it is.
No.
Oh, because you have to sack a creature as well.
So I
I,
think here the line is, um, you pitch the. I think you pitch the noble for the collective and play the fetch and pass.
yep. Yeah. Which is fine, especially if their 2 mana removal is like Echoing Truth or Abrupt Decay or something like that. They've already missed a land drop, so if they want a cantrip here, then they obviously don't have. Okay.
That's very. They must have top decked the land because they missed the land drop last turn.
Correct.
So here we're just hoping for Cradle, right? We're gonna end step, get an Arbor, and then hope to top deck. It could be a Trust down too. So if we draw an Arbor, I mean, I think this is one of the few times where you're gonna try to
Once in the
go
cradle?
for the once, huh?
Go for the once in the cradle, like cradle for once.
Right.
Yep.
Because it is lethal. You have it. There it is.
Yeah. Pitch a Dried Arbor, go and get Hoof.
Yeah. They may have bounce, which is awkward, but at least what it does is then their ad nauseam lines gets worse.
Yeah, and at least if they want to dress down here, they lose at end step, so the collector Hoof is online in their turn.
Well, they can't dress down anymore because the trigger's already on the stack. It feels like they have
Ah, very
bounce,
true.
but
Chain. Okay. They go to 1. It turns off a fetch land. Obviously turns off Adnors.
mm-hmm.
Turns on Orc. But I think if we untap, we're...
I mean, they have to win on their turn.
Yeah, I don't think we're untapping. I think we're either going to
Somebody's
sideboards...
gonna win right now, whether it's
Yeah.
us or them.
Oof.
So Atraxa gets better in this matchup if we're playing Veil, but we're not playing Veil, so I don't think Atraxa would have been a great get. I think that you just have to hope they don't have it. This is, you know how earlier I told you, in fair matchups I don't really try the Hail Mary once unless I'm like backed in the corner. It comes up a lot in the unfair matchups.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Especially where the risk is just worth the reward.
Mm-hmm.
I would assume they're quite close, and they're really trying to work out, can they win from here?
Yeah, there's a chance we're dead here. They kind of had bounce spell telegraph, but I don't think we had a great line for what it's worth.
Yeah, it's a good point. They bounced the oof instead of the hoof. So
Yeah.
they're obviously like trying to win, not trying to yes, keep some
Yeah.
life
I
alive.
feel like we're probably dead because they're counting now, but I
I've
don't
got
think we had.
faith.
I don't think we have had a better line.
I mean, if they start with a brainstorm, that's quite good for us. Or a ponder. Okay, it's going to be Cabal.
That's a bad sign for us.
Yeah.
I feel like we're dead.
To be fair, they kind of have to go for it as well. So
Oh, it might be a Pass and Flames graveyard line. Which would be unfortunate for us. Yeah, we're dead.
oh,
Oh no, what? Maybe they boarded it out and tried to bait
maybe.
us.
Wow, that's on me. Yeah, nice.
They would have to cantrip for LED. I see. I'm not sure how I feel about the needles for what's worth.
Okay.
Let
Would
me
you
think
rather?
about. Does this? Do you know if the stock list runs which claw?
Which
Like,
claw?
that's like the reason to run it, right? Like
Yeah, I usually run 3.
you usually run 3 wish claw in your storm build.
Yeah, yeah. Like I have it in paper, and I usually keep up with
Okay,
what some people are playing.
the thing is, like, it's probably better than the other stuff, so I don't hate it. I think we can just run it back and hope to get lucky, right? I think,
Yeah,
like I said, this build right now, especially without agent, and without like Mez Fiend, it's a little soft to storm, but what can you do, right?
pretty easy mull here with just dried up as the land and hoof.
Yeah, I would mull here.
Um,
I feel like this is a mull as well, right?
yeah, it's a little bit awkward with like what it's doing. Like we have the
Yeah.
saga, we have natural order. Okay,
Oh, it just does stuff.
yeah, it's so I would definitely keep land. I would probably definitely keep the reclaimer, and just to make sure we hit a second land drop, the arbor,
Hmm.
and then the oof is obviously fantastic if we do hit a second land.
Hmm.
Um, and then I
I
think
think
it's
I would.
between. Yeah,
Go ahead.
sorry, you go.
Yeah, no, go ahead. It's better for the viewers if you go through your train of thought.
Yeah, so I think like turn 1 reclaimer is fantastic. Turn 2, if we get the oof down, that's obviously really good as well, just to not die.
Hmm.
Um, Artisan and natural order have like similar roles.
I actually think you have to go turn 1 arbor likely because you have to hit oof turn 2.
Okay, yeah.
I think
Can
natural
they?
order is an easy cut.
This can't be
And
chained, can it? Chain is non-land.
say that again.
Chain of vapor is target non-land permanent.
Correct.
Cool.
Uh, and yeah, I think because you have to have oof on 2 in my opinion. I
Yeah.
would definitely bottom the natural order, and I think given this board state, um, probably bottom the artisan too. I don't think it's gonna come in time.
Hmm. Yeah. The other thought was maybe that reclaimer having access to bog is the same role as macabre, but I like that macabre can just like
You can just steal win
interact.
because
Yeah.
they win in hunt. Ugh. Well, our line got a lot worse. So one of the things about this deck is you kind of have to play out in your mind how the next few turns are going to look like,
Hmm.
and think I don't think we're just casting those other cards anytime soon. So, oh my god,
I think I like Reclaimer now.
agreed.
Look, Dried Albert heard you were streaming, and they're just like, hey, we just want to get on camera. So it can happen.
I don't even if we don't knock on wood, we don't pull this one out. I think this league was pretty successful.
Yeah. I had a great time. Definitely learn a lot as well. Just like basic sequencing, when to kind of like apply pressure and when to hold back. So I believe they also mulliganed to 6 in this game as well.
Yeah, the upside to getting Reclaimer now is pretty big because it was just awkward because our opening 7 I think was like unplayable, and then our 6 I think had like no disruption whatsoever. It was too slow. So
Badlands. Huh. If they thought again here, we probably... Oh, they're going to Ritual. I was going to say I'd love to see them Ritual into Talisman and then pass. And then draw into Needle, but... Cabal here is only 3.
it doesn't do anything here.
Yeah. 2, 4, 5, LED. Okay. Judah.
They have to add Nas here because they know
Yeah.
about the fairy.
All right.
Just gotta get lucky now. Pyroclasm.
Not a whole lot. Like, there's Wish Claw. Cabal's not the greatest with what we have. One.
Wow. Okay.
Oh!
You did it! Sometimes
Too
you gotta get
good.
lucky. Sometimes
Nice.
you gotta get lucky.
Very cool. That's awesome.
On a more to 5
Cool.
too, but we did get lucky.
Very
I'm not gonna
nice.
take credit for this.
100%. 100%. You kept us in here. Nice. That is, yeah, really cool to trophy with you on stream. Yeah, deck was sweet. A lot of cool lines. Obviously, with things like holding up Reclaimer or Sorcery Speed Fiend.
You know what was really funny there, actually? In hindsight, I think the fairy might have won the game because they were forced to take the ad nos line.
Yeah, nice. That's very cool. Yeah, I think I'll definitely be renting this deck again this week from Card Hoarder and getting some more reps in because it is really nice to play.
Any thoughts on the list? Anything that you felt like maybe was an oversight on my deck building, like you would change out, or did the list feel pretty good? Because,
Yeah,
like I said, the deck always feels like it can be improved because there weren't too many people working on the deck. It was just mostly me, and then obviously I consult with a lot of the Reclaimer cabal. But like for instance, even the what is it called? Even the Saga package we recently only added back in the Needle to address the Merit Lage matchups. Like those are relatively new still. So
yeah, that's really nice. Like I was gonna say, the only thing that popped up was Saga, but that was literally just because we didn't really have a matchup where it was that relevant.
it would have been relevant in this matchup. Like there's a line where I'm sure you're familiar, but for the audience who are not, like if we needed to like hurry up and get a Needle, for instance, you can obviously like draw step, activate for Saga, and then get a Needle down the next turn to turn on Witchclaw. But
Yeah,
that's something that comes up like more so against like Sneak and Show because this is the Bog matchup, so you don't want to really tap out Reclaimer.
yeah. No, I love that, and it's also nice to have like not many decks have access to a Saga package while also not getting hit by Collector Oof.
Yes. So,
So to be able to
so
play the same is really nice.
it is awkward, right? Because opponents will, they don't really want to board and disenchant against the creature deck, right?
Yeah, which is fantastic for you. Like, if you thought seize maybe and they have like a force of vigor, it's like all right. But yeah, I think like from someone who played the deck for the first time, it always felt like I had something to do, which was good.
Mhm.
And I think it was a case of like, do I want to ramp or do I want to start setting up a tutor effect in Reclaimer or
Mhm.
Artisan? Which I think is also pretty similar to Maverick in that you have things like, do I want to ramp or do I want to play Knight or like Sylvan Library? Um, so it's like, do I have time to set up for the next turn or do I need to ramp to make sure that I can close this game out with like a natural order or something as soon as possible? I like the snuff outs as well. Like I think it's quite easy to hate out on snuff out when you think of just like all the bowmasters or like maybe a key card like opposition agent, but there's just so many targets that snuff out hits that really disrupts your opponent that I love having 4 copies because then you just have the high chance of having it in your opening as well when you're most likely doing something else as well.
Yeah, if you squint closely, you know what I see when I see snuff out?
Let
I
me have
see
a think.
I see force of what's it called? Force of terror, right? Like
Is that
it's
a card?
essentially a black force almost, but that doesn't cause you to go down as hard. And I,
Oh,
I think given that I'm almost embarrassed to say that I actually went down to 3 copies because I thought we needed to answer Merit Lage and an opposition agent with anoint with affliction, right? But I just think stuff out just too broken not to play 4 copies.
yeah, yeah, it's pretty brutal. Uh, so here we actually have in this list the amount of 1 drops. So we have 18 and so we have 16 1 drops, which is pretty nice with Fiend Artisan because you don't count the 2 arbors, you count the Green Sun Zenith copies. So you have 16 plays on turn 1 in a creature, which obviously with paired with Fiend Artisan is really nice. And I think that's something that Maverick doesn't have. Um,
Sorry, say
just
that
with,
again.
I think that one thing that this deck really benefits from is all the 1 drops in the deck with Fiend Artisan, which is something that Maverick doesn't typically have this many.
Yeah, so that was actually what I was saving that to the end, because I know you wanted to discuss, Fiend Artisan Maverick. And the thing that I always see, and obviously Esper Sentinel is a lot worse now because of Bowmasters, so that's kind of back to the drawing board, right? But all the lists that or the attempts that I've seen to play Fiend Artisan in like as a 4X, I just never see enough 1 drops, and you kind of need like 1 drops and almost like Cradle, right? To
Yeah,
power it out as you saw from the league. And um we can discuss that either now or just if you want to wrap up just the art deck tech with the Nightmare on Elf Street. Either way it's fine with me.
yeah. I'd love to go over it. Because I think there's definitely a lot of players who would love to know your thoughts, especially with your experience with Fiend Artisan, on how
Sure,
you
yeah.
see
We
it.
I think the best starting point is if you bring up Harry's list.
Yeah,
I think that's like the like I don't want to reinvent the wheel. I think what he has is already a good baseline template.
nice. Sort by value.
So I think where I would start is um so you were saying earlier, the Bajuka Vlog. How often are you actually winning games with it?
Uh, Limited experience, but I would say not enough compared to versions with like crop rotation or instant
So
speed
I
effects to
almost
get
want to
there.
say maybe we cut the Bajuka Bog and play like I don't know another better land, right? That's comes in play untapped. We'll
Yeah,
start
like a
there.
second bayou.
Like a second Bayou or another fetch.
We are maxed, well, not maxed out, but we do have 8 fetches.
Uh huh.
And I do really like the 2-2-1 split of 2 Savannah, 2 Bayou, 1 Scrub. So I'll move this here.
The next thing I think I would do is like I mentioned it before. I don't like how necessary is Questing Beast and Palace Jailer
Oof,
and Tracker.
oof, hitting the heart. I would say that in this deck, Tracker and Jailer are more of the flex spots. I do really like Beast. Like it does win games. And there's thankfully been many games on the channel that Beast just a lot of decks just can't beat it. And it also just allows you to deal with things like Planeswalkers while also pressuring your opponent. It's life total.
Okay. I understand this deck doesn't have natural order, so sometimes you need a way to close out.
Yes.
So I get that. Like so, but I think what I would do is like I almost want to play a second cradle too, and I understand there's like it's kind of hard to fit in a second cradle, but if you can, that would be nice. Otherwise, just play another Bayou, right? But I don't think Squib Ranger and Outland Liberator. I think those are like cards I would cut to for what it's worth. And the Thalia, I know Harry said were kind of the weakest card. So I
Okay.
guess we can put it to the side and see how much room we have, right? Like, I would definitely play another Dork and go up to 6.
Yes. Bring those back here and then move some of the. I would say also these. I'm just going to take to the side because I would say they're also flex.
Yeah, it depends how many flex spots are, but I think we need definitely more dorks. And I don't know how bad the third mom is, but like that's another one drop that maybe we can play to just like increase the density, right?
Yeah.
I think from here, you want to max out the artisan, right?
Yes.
How many lands do we have, by the way?
23 plus 3
23.
once.
Is 24 too much?
I actually I just cut a fetch land, just while you were talking, but I could definitely see the 4/4 split.
Yeah, because I almost want to say as long because we have wasteland. I almost want to say as long as we hit our land drops, we should be good. And the deck is like really mana hungry. So I kind of like this as a shell, and it looks like we have what 2 flex spots.
Correct.
Um, how necessary is Liberator? Like that card doesn't strike me as high power level for what it's worth.
Yeah, I think I'm a player who always likes to have some sort of out to the deck, and I don't think Liberator is too much of a cost to have as a Green Sun's target, against like, say like a main deck Chalice or like a Ensnaring Bridge or something like that.
I guess what I'm asking is how many games does it win compared to how many games does it lose for you?
Uh, I would say there's definitely games where you draw it and you're like, okay, that's not relevant. But there are also games where, yeah, it's actually tough because I sometimes find the cost of waiting a turn to flip it is not worth it. You'd rather just actually play out spells like a Sorcery Speed Knight. But uh,
Because for me, I know this is gonna be harsh, but for me, the way I built my the night rock the cradle deck is does this card scare my opponent? And if
mm,
not, I kind of cut it. Does that make sense? So like
yeah,
of those flex spots, I almost feel like Jailer is the most unique, and I take Harry's word for it that it's really strong. So I almost feel like that's the 59th slot.
yeah,
And really now we're down to 1 slot left, right? Like
yeah.
uh I don't think that slot should be liberated. It just doesn't feel like a power level is high enough for me.
Hmm.
And maybe you want to play it's pick whatever you want, right? Maybe agent or something.
Yeah, Agent's pretty cool. Um, it obviously is like another really nice card, especially without Thalia to have something like really powerful against some sort of combo deck.
I think it really depends. Like if you feel like you want agent in the 75, because and it's probably fine in the sideboard too. I just don't. I think the 6 cards you have there, the card that strikes me as maybe the highest ceiling is maybe the Thalia because you can still win against Storm or something, right? It's like a one of, or you play
Hmm.
like a Canonist main or something. I just don't like my 2 drops dying to Bowmasters, if that makes sense. So like depending on how you want to map it out, that kind of feels like you have 1 slot left for the main, and then you can remap the sideboard accordingly to what it's called. You can remap the sideboard accordingly to make sure that the numbers come out evenly for sideboarding, right?
Yeah. Um, the only other card that I thought of was Prismatic Ending. If you don't have something like Outland Liberate in the deck, then at least you still know that main deck you have a way to deal with some sort of artifact or enchantment.
So I guess what the question is like, is there an artifact or enchantment that really gives this deck problems, and that's like really popular?
Um,
'Cause I guess I'm probably the wrong person to ask to because I'm the person that plays zero Boseiju when most of the other elf players want to play at least one. So I'm like no strings attached. I'm playing with no safety net. If that makes sense.
yeah, I would say like Kaldra can be an issue if it comes down early, just as like a piece of pressure. Um,
Oh,
but
but
obviously that has to
Liberator doesn't
be
exile, right?
correct. Yes. Um, like Bridge can be annoying, but you don't often see it. Like Blood Moon can be annoying, but I think in this build with so many one drops, it's not that much of an issue. Um,
Yeah, like because I really value consistency, and I don't really play too many one ofs. Like if you look at my list, there's just not that many one ofs. So I think it's up to your discretion, but that's kind of like the 59 cards that seem necessary, so to speak, to me.
yeah, I
The
guess
answer to the main deck endurance, Chris, is kind of like the same reason why the Nightmare on Elf Street plays at main is because you're almost pre-boarded for other matchups, and your sideboard just gets to be all haymakers.
yeah. I think the one thing that I do miss in this deck with so much mana is like something really powerful to move towards with like Fiend Artisan. Like obviously Beast is nice and Palace Jail is nice,
Mm-hmm.
but like there's no Hoof or Atraxa. There's not
Right.
really like a 5 drop or higher that I want to go for in this deck.
No, I think you have one slot that is the designated finisher, so to speak, right? Like I get that there's no natural order, so I can buy that the questing beast is necessary. That's kind of what I had in mind, but I think yeah, it really I think this is like reasonable. I think I don't even know. I don't think the fourth mom is probably worth it, right? Like you're drawing too many is probably dead, right?
Hmm. What are your thoughts in a list like this with double Arbor?
Not without natural order.
Okay, yeah, good, great
I
point.
think the whole point of a double arbor is natural order, but yeah, I think you have one slot to play around with, and obviously the sideboard. You saw my list, right? Like the sideboard, I have nothing but 0 and 1 mana anti combo cards in the sideboard.
Yeah.
I think choke is like really strong. I'm not sure you need it. Like I feel like Maverick's pretty favored against a lot of these blue decks, right?
Yeah, choke is a tough one because there are a lot of times as well where Delver just has out the creatures early on that if you choke, you're kind of just time walking yourself and taking a bunch of damage again. Uh, and a lot of the 3 and 4 color control decks sometimes don't even play that many islands post board.
Mhm.
Like there's times where you have a choke and they have like a
So
maybe a
I'll put
tundra.
looking at this against Delver, I would imagine the collector who comes out, and maybe the jailer. How would you board?
Yeah, against Delver, I would typically take out the Collect Oof, the Outland Liberator, and sometimes the Jailer, depending, because Orc builds definitely have a better way of getting around our creatures and like stealing the Monarch.
So so
Um,
so based on the fact that we only had two quote unquote bad cards against Delver, I would start with a sideboard where we only have two cards to bring in, and then
yeah,
go from there.
which is
I
pretty much the
also
two
am a big
carpets.
fan of endurance
Yeah,
because it doubles as hate. So I almost want to like have those two as the cards, right? Like that come in against Delver, instead of, and then maybe that means you don't need as many Leyline of the Void or don't need Carpet of Flowers. But I it really depends how strong of a matchup, and I'm not familiar enough to like speculate on that, so to speak.
yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, like if you go with that, then you have the Fairy Macabres and the 2 Endurances as like your 4 slots for the ley lines, which also works really well with the onces.
Yeah, or you can just Leylines in general is a better card, a stronger hate card than Fairy. The only reason
Mm,
why I play Fairy is because the way I map it for our deck, we actually board out the natural order package, so I just it actually comes in. Is why I play Fairy for what it's worth. So I think for you, Leyline might be stronger, which is what Harry had.
yeah, that's a great point. I think Harry's been having really good success with Leyline.
Yeah, so those are what I would probably first order deck building, right? With like trying to build around Fiend Artisan here.
Hmm. No, I love it. It's really nice. Yeah, it's really cool to see. It's cool to see with Maverick. I think one thing that tends to happen is that not every list is the exact 75 of the others. And that makes
Hmm.
sense because the deck's quite reactive to like local metagames or what's online or even time zones. Like I say at night when I stream is a lot different to what like America streams against or plays against in the morning in leagues.
Hmm.
It's kind of like a not a whole different metagame, but it's definitely like there's big differences in even like who you play against. Um,
No, I feel you on that. Like certain times of day, definitely like when I play at night, I feel like it's just an odd combo. And then the few times where I've gotten a chance to play during the day, I feel like it's a lot more fair, like type of DNT style decks. I don't know if that's like lower sample size or whatnot, but
yeah. The only other card that I've played around with in the Palace Jailer slot is Solitude.
how often do you find yourself hard casting Solitude where you're not already ahead?
Sample size is not big enough to tell you, but I would say not many. I would say if anything in that sort of position, it's probably to try to get back into the game.
Yeah, I think that's my issue with Solitude. It almost feels like win more.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I think with a Fiend Artisan build, you really want to be low to the ground. I almost want to play 4 Mom, but maybe I don't know like how that would play out. Maybe it's okay. I know in the past they played 4 Moms, right?
Yeah. I think as well, like people could be scared about Bowmaster with Mum, but as soon as Mum is online, that's also just really nice against the Bowmaster decks.
Hmm. And without
Um,
Thalia and 3 Nobles, I guess you could live with a Plague Engineer on human, right?
yeah, that's very true. Uh, and I think against combo, you really want to try to have that like turn one Mum, turn two Oof, or some sort of protection for Oof if you don't have Thalia in the deck.
Uh, I think it's a little bit hard, right? Because like if you have turn 1 Mom, you don't have turn 2 Thalia, and turn 2 Oof is just a one of.
Hmm.
Mom almost feels like maybe it's a liability. I don't know, like against combo in this build.
Hmm.
So Harry brings up a good point. Mom is pretty useless in mode, but Artisan can cycle it away. That's something I had thought about as well. And Mom actually allowing Artisan untap is pretty huge. So
Yeah.
yeah, maybe we just go lower to the ground, right? It means like we can untap with Artisan and Knight more often, and that's your 60th card. And
Yeah.
and the deck also just wants a lot of 1 drops, like because it turns on your Cradles and it turns on your Artisan, which is like kind of what the deck's about. So maybe
Nice.
this is like the starting point in an Artisan build or a dedicated Artisan build, I should say.
Yeah. I like. I think it's pretty sweet because I still like having Liberator in the sideboard for matchups where you don't want to bring in Force, but you want to have some sort of interaction. Um,
Sure. Do you think it's better than Knight of Autumn in this build?
uh, Great point. I do like Night of Autumn because it gives you a body as well for Grist.
Sure. I mean, I think you probably have more reps than I do, and if nothing else, you can always consult with Harry or whatnot. I would defer to you on that, but I feel like if you want that kind of effect, it's like that's an alternative, right?
I think the
But
upside of Liberator as well being a 2-drop is a little bit negated because we have the full 4 Fiends alongside the Orcs. That it's not just something you can
that's
green
fair.
source
That's a
the
good
the
point.
2 on.
I didn't think about that.
But yeah, this look yeah. I always really love like seeing different builds, so I would actually love just to take something like this straight through a league
Yeah,
and see
and
how
I
it
think
goes.
you probably don't need Agent and Priest, right? I feel like it's just one or the other.
Um, yeah, yeah,
Like I try not to double up, and that is actually why my list doesn't run Caracas because I just feel like outside of Merit Lage, it kind of does the same thing. Like if against as Bog, right?
yeah. I think one thing to note is as well because of the higher creature count, it's probably better of the upside of Liberator hitting multiple things, as Harry said, than having Knight as a body.
Yeah. I mean, I can buy that. I would defer to you, the Maverick experts on that. But yeah, I feel the one thing that's an eyesore to me at the moment is that I feel like you don't want both Agent and Priest. It's like
Yeah,
one or the other.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a matchup where you'd want like one, not the other.
Also, I'm not super high on definitely signs, but I did see your stream yesterday, and it looked pretty impressive against the Doomsday player. For what it's worth, I think you kind of have to do like a sideboard map and like look at the meta percentages to see that that's worth it. And the other thing is with endurance being in the 75 in the sideboard, I think there's a chance you can cut carpet for what it's worth, or at least I don't know how, because then I think you want questing beast as a finisher, right? Based on everything I'm hearing, so you
Yeah.
board out only jailer and collector oof. So your two cards coming in would be, depending on how you map, either the carpets or the endurance, right? Whichever one you want.
Yeah. Sometimes I even go down on a mana dork for a carpet.
I wouldn't cut man doors. The thing is, like I think you want to stretch your sideboard and get the most out of the cards, right? And
Yeah.
I think a Manadork is like good, if that makes sense.
Yeah, again, especially in a Fiend Artisan build. Hmm.
Yeah, so that's kind of my 2 cents. So like, depending if you want leyline or not, or like if you really want carpet, I don't think you would play both endurance or carpet. So if you play carpet, you play leyline probably, or you play endurance, you probably cut the carpet. Endurance strikes to me as better for what it's worth,
Hmm.
or flexible.
Definitely going to come back to this because it's a lot of info to take in, but I do really like your thoughts because a lot of them do make a lot of sense, and it's really nice to find like a full 4 Fiend build. But yeah, uh, Newton, a huge thank you for coming on and for your feedback, and very cool to also trophy. That's definitely very special for the first elves stream that I have with you. To take the
No,
seven
it was a
syndicate to
pleasure,
new
and
new
I'm
heights.
glad. I'm glad we were able to get that trophy. We had to sweat it out at the end.
Yeah, definitely, especially after the round or the game one loss. But yeah, pretty sweet to get there. If people want to find you, you do stream at twitch.tv/HelloNewton, correct?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry,
all good.
I wasn't sure if you're finished with your sentence there. I haven't streamed lately, but hopefully I can again. It's just been really hectic with the baby, so.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. Discord, there is an Elves Discord. Cradle, I'll actually link it. That makes it a lot easier. And then also you have a Patreon where you release content. Discord is in the chat. You can also find Newton at Twitter/HelloNewton. And yeah, Newton, anything else you want to plug?
No, I think I'm good. I hear the baby crying in the background, so I probably have to scoot on over back to that pretty soon. So, but I was happy to join you and glad we were able to, showcase the deck, what it can do.
Yeah, no, a huge thank you for coming on. A huge thank you to those who came in to chat, new followers, the new subs. Very much appreciate it. Also, very cool to see so many fans of Newton in the stream and fans of Elves because, yeah, I think there'll be a lot more coming on the channel in the near future. So, a big thank you again. And yeah, I might find someone else to host, but Newton, all the best. Enjoy your weekend. Big love to the family. And thanks again for finding the time to come on and co host.
All right, thanks, dude. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome, anytime. All right, I think that Auntie's actually streaming, which is cool. So we will send you guys over there. But a big thank you once again to everyone who came in. Very much appreciate it. Very cool to get the trophy. That's always really nice. And to get there in style as well with the near clean sweep. But until next time, a big thank you very much. We'll catch you in a bit. Also, new content on the greensunzenith.com. Check it out. See you then.